Okay, well, hello. I see my special guest in the back. Thank you so much for being here, Kirk. I'm going to bring you on. We're going to make dinner tonight. I have a very special guest, but let me start by introducing myself for anybody new here. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Maggie. I'm the substitute teacher, your substitute teacher today. Welcome to class. I'm just a boy mom times two. I've been on a health and wellness journey, maintaining a 78-pound weight loss with at least 25 more to go. And on my channel, we do cooking demonstrations, and I do recipes that I think you would like, that I would like. I always do the substitute version, but all the recipes that we make here, you can do the full flavor version. But tonight I have someone very special who reached out to me. I'm going to allow him to introduce himself. You all probably know Kirk D. Anderson Fitness. So you know I'm struggle streaming. So if anything happens, I will be right back. But Kirk, I'm going to go ahead and bring you in.
Hey, good evening, Maggie. How are you?
It worked. I'm good. I'm good.
Yes, it
Doing
worked.
wonderful.
Nice.
Well, please introduce yourself to anyone who may not know you.
Okay, hey guys, I'm Kirk D.A. Anderson Fitness, 48 years old. I've been obese twice, not fat, but clinically obese twice. Lost 65 pounds once, gained it all back, transformed a second time, and thankfully I've maintained the transformation. So on my website, or just specifically on my YouTube channel, I help people look great and feel even better. Because I'm not just about looking good, but also being healthy. That's pretty much it.
Wonderful. All right. So tell us about your YouTube channel. And you reached out to me and let me know
Okay.
if you'd be interested to talk to the scholars. I'm the teacher, and my
Yeah.
YouTube class is the scholars. So what made you want to reach out to us?
Okay, so over the years, so it's kind of funny. The only reason I even thought of starting a YouTube channel was boredom during quarantine and the whole, quarantine situation. And at first I was just gonna do it, just do it with my cell phone. And then I realized how big it was. Yeah, I was very clueless as to YouTube. But on and off over the years, I've been helping people, to lose weight or what have you, just on and off friends or acquaintance or what have you. Then I decided, you know what? If I'm going to do this YouTube, I'll just do it correctly. So I became a certified personal trainer, actually started getting official clients, etc., etc. And I found this to be a very good way to give back because the two things that held me back over the years, struggling, yo-yoing with my weight, was my lack of knowledge and my pride. Or I guess a bit more blunt, my ignorance and my arrogance. Now, what do I mean by that? So I didn't know exactly what I was doing. Some of the things I thought were true were not true. And there's things I just didn't know. Right. And then my pride or arrogance saying, oh, I'm smart. I'll Google it, figure it out. I heard somebody the other day saying if they could spend the day with Warren Buffett, the billionaire, they wouldn't pay to do this. They would simply Google what he did, which obviously is ludicrous, right? You can't Google what a billionaire does and just copy him and become super successful yourself. It doesn't work that way. So I ended up getting professional coaching. My first coach was a lady, this IFBB Pro bikini model. That's International Federation of Bodybuilders. And she's stronger than most dudes, but looks very girly, very feminine. She's like, I don't know, 130, 140, and she's like 5'7", 5'8". So super duper fit. And she looked at the program I had at the time and she said, I'm going to give you a real workout program. And she tweaked my diet. And then one thing led to another. And here I am trying to spread the knowledge because I believe it's a myth that two myths, I believe. One, people who are overweight, they're secretly eating. That is not true. Practically, I would say 99% of the people that have hired me are just friends or acquaintances. I have to increase their calories. It's counterintuitive. You saw it with The Biggest Loser, where all these people lose 200, 300, 400 pounds and they just gain it right back. Could they crush their metabolic starvation? Starvation never works. Mm-hmm. The other part is, aside from the not eating enough, it's back to the just not knowing what to do, right? So people don't secretly eat. That's just a myth. And secondly, it's not that people are lazy. A lot of people bust their ass in the gym, but they don't see the results. They're trying to cut down a tree with a sledgehammer. They're whacking away, week after week, month after month, and eventually they quit. I've quit so many times because gyms make money, not off the people that go. They make money off people who just pay monthly and don't show up. I think each gym, if all the members were to show up at the same time, I'm sure that would exceed the fire code. They couldn't all work out at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So I believe that there are these two myths out there. Now, if more people knew what they were doing, what they should be doing and not be doing, then they would be successful, and then they would keep going at it. That's what I'm with my first coach. When what she made me do rather worked. So it just motivated me to do more and more and more and more and more. And that's what I tried to do. Remove the ignorance or the lack of knowledge and
Yeah.
make people acknowledge that, listen, if you're going to court, you'd hire a lawyer, right? You don't, guys don't go to cut their hair at home. You did that in college. You're a grown man, you go out to a barber. Women go to a hairdresser. So why do you think after decades of failure and futility, you just go, you know what, I'm just going to Google this and magically I will just lose weight and not gain it back. It's not going to happen. You got to be realistic with yourself or honest with yourself.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I've been very vulnerable with my class and let them know
Yeah.
that, have struggled with weight my whole life. I think we have that in common. I used
Yeah.
your before and after picture as the thumbnail, but I love that you said that, you're basically paying it forward. Someone helped you get on the right track,
Yeah.
and now inspiring others to do the same. And you have inspired me. I've been looking at your videos, and I saw a
Okay.
couple of videos. I loved you had a Whole Foods shopping haul video, and then
Right.
you a meal prep video. So I thought what we could do today is kind of a response to those videos, and
Okay.
you're gonna coach me.
Okay.
I Because on my channel, it's a cooking channel.
Right.
Going to walk us through, and if you guys in the chat have questions, you can ask Kirk. He is our expert. He's actually and now he's helping others. I just share what's worked for me. But I'll show you my ingredients, and then I always let the class and you guys can let me know what you want to see. And I'm actually going to be doing a live cooking demonstration while you're telling us some of the reason why we make these foods. So,
Okay.
all right. So when I looked at Kirk's Whole Foods shopping video, well, first of all, start with Whole Foods. Why is that a
Mhm.
place you might want to shop?
Okay. So pretty much it's this. I love simplicity, right? The simpler you make things, the better. So I tried it where I drive to here to get this one thing, drive to there to get one thing. You spend a lot of time. You got to spend gas. If you just go to one place, and the best place is Whole Foods, in my opinion, because I get ridiculously good customer service. So when I first started on this journey, I was clueless. It's almost impossible to run into anybody in Whole Foods and you ask him or her a question and they can't answer it. Why is this? What is that? They are extremely knowledgeable. They're not generic employees, for lack of a better word. Very, very knowledgeable. Secondly, they have a ridiculous return policy. Like this drink, if I drank half of this and didn't like it, I could carry this back next week and they would give me my money back. Whole Foods return policy is out of this world. So those are two things. And since Amazon bought them, their nickname used to be Whole Paychecks. That's misleading. The two things that are still expensive there is beef and seafood, but that's almost in any place. But everything else is very affordable because there's a myth out there that I can't eat healthy, I can't afford to. If you can afford your Netflix subscription, a new iPhone, Android phone, whatever, you can afford to eat healthy. It's this myth. I remember a couple of years back listening to a health podcast, and this lady gave an example of one of those because I don't shop at McDonald's, but like Happy Meal things for like a family of four, and I don't remember what it was like, said $20 or something. And she compared it to going to a Whole Foods or a Trader Joe's where you could get a rotisserie chicken, I think sweet potato, and some veggies. Now, when you eat McNuggets, which I used to a long time ago, 2-3 hours later you're starving again, no matter how many of the damn things you eat, right? Whereas that huge rotisserie chicken, it feeds the family. You have leftovers, you could make that into a broth. They're not going to eat all the potatoes one time. They're not going to eat all the vegetables one time. So it costs about the same, far healthier, and much more filling, right? As you know, if you cook at home, it's way cheaper than eating out all the time. And unless you go into really nice restaurants, the food you prepare at home tastes better. It's exactly how you want it.
Well, thank you. I agree. It is kind of like a skill that you have to practice, a
Right.
muscle flex. Some people, for various reasons, you have the time or it's a lot of work, but it's one of those things I look at it, pay now or pay later. When I
Yeah.
started my health wellness journey, and this is year 3 for me, I'm going
Mhm.
low and low. That was one of the questions that I asked. Can I just buy some stuff and eat it? My like, honestly, there's really no like all in one entree. So I just
Yeah.
started making these changes. But
Ah, okay.
you speak
Gotcha.
about the whole food, so I have some ingredients
Yeah.
here. All right, so we're making, I was going to call it a man's meal, but yeah, we'll call it a meal. So I placed an order. I know you like to go into the shops, and I always tell my
Yeah.
scholars I work from home, thankfully. So I don't go out into the stores unless I
Yeah.
have. I know that I'm bad with impulse shopping, and I'll buy stuff
Mhm.
I need. So I have a ribeye,
Right. I see.
and they
Grassfed.
told me to get the grass fed, and
Correct.
it's one steak, and this is 0.97 pounds, so it's about a pound, and it's
Mm-hmm.
$20 a pound, which is an investment. But we all know if you go out and order a ribeye, you're going to pay easily 2 or 3 times as much. But can you let us know why you insisted on grass fed? Because I did buy what you asked for.
Right. So grass fed compared to, first of all, that's what cows should eat, as you saw as a kid. Now, when I've looked at some studies when they compare grass fed cows to cows that eat other things, corn and whatnot, in the grass fed cows, the ratio of the omega 3 to omega 6 fats, which is what you hear about the healthy fats in like salmon, wild caught salmon, not farm raised, the ratio is almost the same, but in the corn fed cow, the ratios are like reversed, which is not what you want. Long story short, when animals eat what they should eat, they are significantly healthier. So, for example, pork. Some of you might know the inside of a pig is the closest to a human body. When they do autopsies on the pigs that eat not stuff pigs normally eat, again, corn and other garbage, then they see like cirrhosis of the liver, heart damage, etc., etc., etc. When the pigs do what pigs do, go eat whatever garbage they eat naturally, they do autopsies on those pigs, everything looks normal. So when the animal exists how it has been existing for centuries or thousands of years, that is better for you. Because everything that goes into the animal then goes into you. So if it's fed, also another thing would be these animals that aren't allowed to just graze free, and they're closed up in very confined places, whether it's the chickens, farm raised fish that are clustered up, or these cows. They have to use a lot of sanitizer to keep things hygienic, which is then again some of this stuff you're gonna inevitably end up in your body. Whatever the animal eats is going to get into you. Long story short. So that'd be several of the reasons. And one tip I didn't think to say, because I do this automatically, I do a lot of ordering through Amazon Prime myself. The one thing I don't order is the steak. The reason being, no, there's nothing wrong with the steak, but I didn't think to do this. It's so subconscious. Is I asked them to cut it in half. The reason I do this is grass fed has less fats than your regular ribeye. So when I go to a restaurant, I can't eat ribeyes anymore. I always have to do like a New York strip or some other cut. Because if you look at that ribeye, it's going to look like a slightly fattier New York strip, just about, if you hold it up to the camera and you look at the marbling in there. Because when I first started to change and I would cook, by the time, because back then I was doing well done. Now it's probably not that big of a deal, medium. But I would cook the hell out of it and it'd be like tough like shoe leather. I would cook it for like 20 minutes and it still wouldn't cook. I'm like, what's going on here? I'd flip it. And then this butcher at Whole Foods, again, this is another benefit of going to Whole Foods. He explained to me what I just said. And he's like, oh, it's no problem. We'll just cut it in half. Right? So, yeah, you see it has marbling, but not the amount that you'd see if you go to the nicest steakhouses. It doesn't matter. You'll have way more fat at a steakhouse.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I have to say that I took it out to put some seasoning on
Yeah.
it, but I'm going to hold it up so you guys can see. So this is one ribeye. So it's 1 pound. That's what I ordered. And I am not eating all this.
Yes.
On my cooking live streams, because I'm trying to get the rest of this weight off. When
Yeah.
I cook what I eat, and then I
Mm.
eat for class, but I went ahead and got a pound. I'm actually
Right.
going to give this to Nana and my son, who are probably watching. So I put some herbs and seasonings on here, but
Okay.
you guys see, I'm going to just pull this. You guys can see, compared to a ribeye that you would buy like at, I don't know, Publix or whatever, there's a little bit of ribbon of fat in here, but it's not nearly as big as or as fatty as what Kirk said. And so, Kirk, let us know, why is that? Why is the grass-fed less fatty than the corn or whatever else they use?
Well, what they typically do with all these cows, they're trying to fatten them up, right?
Mhm.
They just want to sell more product, get more. It's all about money. It always comes down to money. So, for example, there was a guy who worked at Whole Foods, another state, not where I'm at in Florida. And I remember him telling me he used to work at, I remember it was Kroger or Publix? Probably Kroger. I
Mhm.
don't think Publix is in Texas. Anyway,
Mhm.
you would tell me how, they just some of the reason the chicken is so big is they would soak it in water and all this other kind of stuff to fluff it up more, blah, blah, blah. Because I remember thinking, oh, why are these wild caught, or I shouldn't say wild caught, free range chicken, right? They're smaller, the legs are smaller, but it's kind of what chickens look like when you're growing up. Now some of these chickens look like turkeys. The thighs are so big. And I don't
Yeah.
know if you've ever seen documentaries on this where they call them plumpers because they're so fat, their legs can't really support their weight. So they can only walk a certain amount of steps, then they have to sit down and rest. They're
Ah.
that fat because they're pounding full of hormones again to maximize the yield from the chicken to
Mhm.
then make more profit. So these cows, back to your original question, are just simply fatter. They
Yeah.
fatten them up. It's like you just eating a ton of carbs. It's going to make you fat, right? And I'm not advocating low carb or anything like that. But if you eat too much, calories in, calories out, if your body
Mhm.
burns 1,500 for the day and you eat 3,000, you will get fat. It is what it is.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point about the chicken. I had heard because, chicken breast is usually the cut of the chicken that's most requested. And so they plump
Mhm.
up and they're top heavy and then they,
Yes.
because they rush to grow them. You and
Yep.
I else in common. We're both immigrants, or I'm assuming with the
Yes,
lovely.
I am. Yeah, I'm Jamaican.
And I'm from Ghana. And hi, mom, if you're watching, I've been cooking since before child labor laws. Thank But my mom always used to say that, before I was 10, I was in the kitchen with her and I
Mhm.
would see like, you know, no brand sponsors, but like the Tyson chicken, like flavored, chicken strips or whatever. And you
Mhm.
think, oh, that's a great shortcut. And
Yeah.
that's the things that my mom was always like, no, we don't use that chicken because
Yeah.
they inject it, they do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Never going to get this right if I've got to do everything from scratch.
Yeah.
Hear you say that about what they do to the
Yeah.
chickens. That's why I got the grass fed because that's what
Mhm.
Kirk asked for. So again, this is a grass fed ribeye. So you guys can see I got this today from Whole Foods. So you said you had them cut it. When you have them cut it in half, you have them. Oh,
Exactly. You're trying to make it thinner. You want the
I
thinner strip. So,
see.
for example, I would essentially cook like a half pound or zero point 0.6 of a pound, stuff like that. So that
Oh,
steak would be two dinners typically.
yeah. Okay.
Sometimes I'm like 0.7, 0.8. So it kind of depends. But
Okay.
it's just easier to cook, especially if you don't like your stuff bloody.
Right. Right. I usually do like a
Mhm.
medium.
Yeah.
So you kind of do with a thin cut ribeye. So I'm gonna cook the whole thing as I
Right.
seasoned it, and I'll just, I'll have a couple bites and then
Yeah.
I'll cut it in half and take the rest. But that's good to know to make the meat
Mhm.
stretch. And then just cooking tips for my class that would make the thinner the steak, the faster it will cook. So just mind your times and everything. I'm gonna do a reverse sear today, which means we're going to partially cook it, a par cook in the oven. For me, that's the air fryer. I very
Mhm.
rarely use the oven. But a couple things, just, I like to give cooking tips as a home cook. I am
Mhm.
not a chef. This is just
Right.
what I follow online. So about an hour before we were supposed to go live, I took this ribeye out of the fridge and I've just kind of had it wrapped in the paper, from Whole Foods on
Mhm.
the counter so that it can uh, not lower the temperature. Yeah, not warm up to cook, but to be a little bit closer to room temperature. You
Yeah.
never cook, especially a really good cut of meat.
Yes.
Don't want to go straight from the fridge to heat. You definitely don't want to go from the freezer to heat. So whether it's fish or chicken or steak, try and take it out a little bit ahead of time. So what I've done is I've just put salt and pepper, and then you can use any. Well, I'd like to know, Kirk, what seasoning you like. This is just Walmart. This is an herb de Provence.
Mhm.
It's a spice blend. It has like basil, fennel, rosemary, just a lot of stuff here. It's great on lamb. It's great on red
Okay.
meat. Really.
So this may surprise some people, but all I use is salt. All I use is salt. It's so years ago. So actually, probably a couple months ago, I went back to an old favorite from back in the day, Montreal steak seasoning. I remember thinking, man, this thing was so fantastic back in the day. It was the most incredible thing. Added it to the steak. It tasted awful. So what has there's several things. Let's see how to best way to explain it. So years ago, if I bit into a carrot, it would taste as if I was biting into a lemon or a lime. It was that bitter to me. I tasted no sweetness in there. So nowadays, if I bite a carrot, I can taste the sweetness in there, right? So what I'm saying is my taste buds were messed up from years of sweet things, super flavorful things. So this drink, people who have given this to who are pretty fit and work out, they typically tell me this tastes really good. For other people, they may say, oh, it tastes okay. And the correlation I notice there is that the people who are fit or eat healthy, their taste buds are generally more sensitive. So, for example, years ago, I remember I used to like Crunch cereal, which was an even sweeter version of Raisin Bran. So it's like, I'd have a cheat meal. I got the Crunch, took one spoonful, threw it in my mouth, and went, couldn't even swallow it. It felt like I'd thrown a tablespoon of sugar in my mouth, where years ago, I would devour those things daily. So I said, all right, I'll try the Raisin Bran, but I didn't add sugar because I used to add sugar, and even that was almost too sweet for me. So, long story short, this is how I can just use salt because to me, cooking the steak with just salt, it tastes literally to my taste buds. It's as good as me going to extremely nice steakhouse. No exaggeration. Like I can't tell the difference. As a matter of fact, half the time my ribeyes taste better than the ribeyes I spend a lot more money to get when I go to dinner. So that's another benefit, an unknown benefit I should probably speak about in my videos is the cleaner your palate gets, the more you can enjoy food. So when I do a cheat meal, like I love Applebee's spare ribs, it just tastes, I don't know, just ridiculously good. I don't know how to describe it, right? Because my taste buds are just so sensitive now compared to what they were years ago. So I feel as if I get more out of the food.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. You said a couple things. So, just for anybody watching, I'm going to be cooking while Kirk is talking. So, I put the ribeye in the oven. I think the recipe says like, I need to turn it down like 250 to 300,
Okay.
and just enough to kind of get it. We want to get it to like halfway done, and then we're
Mhm.
going to sear it. So, I'll walk everybody through that. But you bring up a really good point about only using salt and pepper. And I remember
Yeah.
asking, use jerk. I think you used jerk seasoning on your video.
Chicken, yeah, I'm the chicken, yeah.
Yes, the chicken. The better the quality of meat, the less you have to do to it. And that's even
Yes.
if you have to put a whole bunch of, and I'm not knocking anyone who does steak sauce or whatever, but
Mhm.
usually you want to taste the actual flavor of the meat. And this is my first time, I think, having
Mhm.
grass-fed ribeye. I just buy regular ribeye from the store.
Mhm.
It's a treat because it's a little bit pricey, but it's definitely worth it when you get that good flavor. And
Yeah.
I also like what you said about when I always tell my class that my palate has completely changed. So the
Mm.
things that I say, taste really good. Like I eat berries. I know you've talked about fruits. When I,
Yes.
blueberries,
Mhm.
sometimes I like putting them in pancakes and I like cooking them.
Yeah.
But even, and we'll talk about the veggies we're going to do tonight, even when I eat them raw,
Mhm.
sometimes just the natural sweetness from fresh fruit is sweeter than anything sugary. When I do drink,
Yes.
if I go to the movies and I have a soda or something else,
Mhm.
it's almost syrupy sweet. It's too.
Yes.
So maybe you can talk a little bit about how our palate changes over time.
Yeah, that's a great point. Before I even get into that, two things you said earlier, I don't want to forget. Ghana, I've been to Ghana. I went to Accra once. Yeah, of all African countries I've been to, that's the one that was closest to Jamaica. It was extremely similar.
Oh, my goodness,
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
been
it was very,
to
very
Jamaica
similar.
5 times. I love it. Yeah, mom.
Yeah, yeah. And don't should not forget to touch on the time. You said earlier a lot of people said they don't have the time, but that's a myth. I used to think I didn't have the time either. So hopefully we don't forget to touch that topic. But back to your thing about the palate. This wasn't some master plan I had. It just happened organically. I went from sodas to juices like orange juice, whatever. From that to, I don't know, Powerade. I think I didn't like Gatorade at the time. To flavored water like Crystal Light and these things. To a water that had a flavor in it but was less flavorful to water.
Mm.
And now the only thing I do that's not water are these kombucha drinks. Unfortunately, this brand you can only get in Florida, but it tastes fantastic. And
Yeah.
the one brand I do that you can get anywhere in the US is GTS Kombucha. I should probably have brought a bottle of those. Those taste good. And it's usually difficult to just guzzle the whole bottle. People will probably drink half a bottle at a time. So I get my sweet tooth. And if I do the movies, my cheat meal there or cheat thing is just Raisinets. but I just love raisins. I can do popcorn. I can't do soda anymore. It's like it's impossible. Like a couple of years ago, I tried it, and yeah, it was like I was pouring syrup down my throat. You
Yeah.
know, so I can't. If I do like regular orange juice, I have to dilute it. Like if I'm at the hotel, if I did an orange juice, which I can't even bother anymore, is with
Mhm.
like half the glass is orange juice, then I fill up the other half with water.
Yeah.
It tastes just ridiculously sweet. I'm talking, like orange juice from a machine or something. It's not like fresh squeezed oranges. Fresh squeezed oranges, I can drink. I can do that all day, so to speak.
Absolutely. So what I'm drinking, and I never drink out of the can, but I'd love
Yeah.
to know what you think about this. Zevia. This is a 0-calorie sweetened with
Right.
stevia, like a soda substitute. You talked about stepping down because sometimes
Hmm.
people try to go hardcore cold
Yes.
turkey, and they struggle.
Yep.
But I don't know if you've tried this. I've tried kombucha. It's
Hmm.
kind of anyone who's new to it. To me, it's kind of it's like a fermented, like almost ginger beer kind of. You kind of like it or you don't, and
Yes.
I like
Most
sparkling.
of them suck. I mean, yeah, most of the I've literally tried all of them, and 90% of them are terrible. Ninety
Really?
percent.
Okay.
Yeah. I've literally gone to Whole Foods a couple times. I'm like, oh, I don't bother anymore. And like, oh, I literally just grabbed a bunch of different bottles, tried them. Yeah, I've only had found two brands I like, and which is this 221. If you're in Florida, you can get it here. 221 BC kombucha. I mean, this thing, they're so popular that they sell out at Whole Foods, and Whole Foods actually limits you. Like if you go on Amazon Prime to buy them, they may only allow you to add two or three to your cart.
Oh
And
wow.
this has been going on from pre-COVID. So this is not a COVID related thing. This is pre-COVID. It's a local company. I think they started like 2019, 2018. Now they're at Publix as well. And even then, sometimes you get to Publix, you can't find them. So what I found too, really good supplements, just slight transitioning.
Yeah.
You don't just get them in a store. They're usually some almost unique boutique type company. They may not be expensive or not, but sometimes they'll run out because they're not just mass producing these things. And
Yeah.
so as a result, they can run out or go low. Like the protein shake I use, sometimes you can't get it or it's low in stock or what have you because they're not just mass producing this stuff. So that's one of the things I've noticed with that. But yeah, most kombuchas, they're terrible.
Okay. So, and if you want to hold up the bottle, because I know sometimes.
Some people are in Florida. Get it to focus. Yeah, there we go. And it's organic as well. Yeah, there's that.
We're talking to the Kirk the Fitness. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about beverages. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
move over to veggies. I know some of y'all have questions. If I miss it, please just repost it back in the chat, and I'm going to try and get to it. Y'all, this is for anybody new here, welcome. And welcome to class. I'm Maggie, the substitute teacher. I'm just a home cook. Kirk D. Anderson Fitness reached out to me, so I'm so honored to have him here. But I'm cooking. I'm making it. It's just me and my iPad. We are both students of the lead attorney, and so I consider myself struggle streaming. But if I miss it, please repost it, and we'll get to it. So while our steak is partially cooking in the air fryer, and then we're going to pan sear it. I've got my cast iron here. I'll walk
Mm-hmm.
everybody through that. Um, for the meal, I was thinking, definitely a steak, and I asked you what veggies you wanted, and you said you like spinach and broccoli.
Right.
Spinach. You said it must be organic, so I also got this
Correct.
from Whole Foods, organic spinach.
All right.
So two things I want you to talk about this whole muss and fuss about organic because I always tell my class start somewhere, use what you
Yeah.
have. Um, but I also wanted to ask spinach and broccoli are the same color, and I try to go for different colors. So I
Yeah,
want to
okay.
propose maybe butternut squash or tomato, but I'm going to let you talk about organic and maybe pick another vegetable.
Okay, got it. So, what do you always want to do with anything, whether it's with something you hear me saying, somebody else said, or you read it somewhere, just use common sense and critical thinking, right? I remember this interview with a guy, I don't remember if it was Monsanto, probably Roundup Weed Killer, and he said something like, oh, it's so safe you can squirt it in your mouth. And some smart ass journalist said, well, why don't you go squirt some? And he's like, what? See, you said it's safe, squirt some. And the guy is like, oh, well, I wouldn't actually squirt it in my mouth. Point being, if you can get this thing and it has no pesticides and you get this thing with, or vice versa, why would you pick the one that has pesticide in it? It's a pesticide. There's nothing, I don't care about what minimal amount is necessary, blah, blah, blah. If you have a choice, go with the one without the pesticide. Vegetables are not expensive, whether they're good or bad. That's one thing that we can all agree on is not expensive. So, and there are some studies that will show, oh, the nutrients are kind of similar, but I know one for sure I read regarding growing children that they clearly show that organic vegetables were better for the development of the children's brain. And again, there's so many things we just don't know in science. Common sense tells me if I can get something without bad things in it, then why take that other version, right? There's no need to take this risk. And if you Google Monsanto and lawsuits, you'll find some some of the items that they get through discovery the lawyers have gotten, where you see the scientists emailing back and forth saying, yeah, we don't really know, we can't really be sure, blah, 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 blah. And rest assured, some of the people who work at those companies in high positions, they are going to Whole Foods. They're not feeding their kids stuff from Walmart that's non-organic. They're going to Whole Foods and they're buying organic stuff. There's a reason you see expensive vehicles. Just think about it. Let's think about it seriously. You can go to Whole Foods in certain parts of the country and you'll see extremely expensive vehicles there, right? Bentleys, Ferraris, Rolls Royce. Are these people stupid? Are they bored? Rich people tend to be very busy. Why do they take the time to go there or have somebody go there for them? They probably know something that you may not know, so.
Wonderful. And we did have a question. I wanted to get to it. I'm going to let you all have questions. Kirk Anderson Fitness is the expert. I am just the home cook. I'm going to be making the meals, but if you guys have health and fitness questions, Keisha asked one. So she says, and I am live streaming on Instagram, but you guys, if you want to see and ask your questions to Kirk Anderson Fitness, hop on over to YouTube. We're streaming on Maggie, the substitute teacher. So Keisha asks, is there a big difference in using pink Himalayan salt versus regular sea salt?
I honestly do not know if there's a difference. But as I've done before when I've done live streaming, I simply Google it. Google is very good for that. I know when sea salts first became popular, this was the only one you'd get, Himalayan pink sea salt. So that's still what I buy today. So when I see regular sea salt, maybe I'm just biased. I just ignore it and I go with the Himalayan pink sea salt, to be honest. I've not researched the difference between the two.
Yeah, you know what?
One quick thing with sea salt, you have to make sure you're getting iodine because sea salt doesn't contain iodine. So you need to have a good supplement because iodine can be tied to issues with your thyroid if you're not getting enough in your diet, etc. So the multivitamin I take, Thorn, it's a really good supplement brand, and they give you 100% iodine in their multivitamin. And since I use sea salt, I'm not getting iodine through the salt. So that's one caveat there with the sea salt. Make sure you're getting enough iodine.
Okay, gotcha. So I just got pink Himalayan sea salt, and then this is a sea salt that I got from Hawaii. Here, the reason I use it, this sea salt, is because it's flaked. So when you're making desserts, it kind of stands up nice. I have no idea about the nutritional value, but I think the kosher sea salt or table sea salt, this one does not have iodine. So you're saying that's why you take a multivitamin, but if you do regular table salt, you're getting your iodine. Is that right?
Yes, but I wouldn't really do regular table salt, to be honest. I would prefer to do sea salt. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
I mean, the thing is, the general rule of thumb is the more processed the thing is, the worse it is. It is what it is, And again, I just use common sense and critical thinking, and Google is your friend. Because when I first started out, I would be standing in a Whole Foods and looking at the back, and you see some names you can't pronounce, never a good sign. You Google said names, and you see, oh, endocrine disruptor, oh, may cause cancer, blah, 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 blah. Could create problems with fertility, this, that. So why bother with these things?
Understood. That makes sense. Okay, so when you're working with your clients, do you have them basically go like all the way as clean as possible, or do you stair step them down if they've been eating the standard American diet like most of us for a long time?
What I tell them is, at the end of the day, in terms of just pure looks, it's all about the macros. So whether you want to do Chick-fil-A or even stupid nuggets or what have you, if you hit your macros, you will look different, as in you'll look better. But there's always a but. Health-wise, it is better if you go clean. Secondly, there's some evidence that it also helps speed up the other person. So I remember my second coach telling me he thought one of the reasons my transformation was going so rapidly, he said, was because I ate. Like he knew exactly what I ate. And a typical bodybuilder doesn't care of the quality of the food, they just care of the quantity. They hit certain protein, carbs, and fat, and they look fantastic, whether they're male or female. They don't really care about the quality per se, but I was all about the quality as well as trying to transform myself. And I remember him telling me he thought, that was a thing. And I remember finding some research on there. You can find research said it doesn't matter, but then you can find research that says it does. And again, as a common sense tells me it must be good for me. For sure, it's not bad for me. So what the heck, I'll spend the extra money and get it in a sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell my class when I
Mhm.
started eating better, I started eating less. So for me, spending more on quality ingredients, because
Mhm.
like you said, eating nuggets or fast food, look, we've
Yeah.
all been there. There is no judgment here, but
Yep.
you need more of it to get that, that fullness.
Yes. That is
Okay,
true.
so you approved the grass-fed ribeye, so we've
Right.
got the oven. I'm keeping my eye on it. So we got a grass-fed ribeye here for Mr. Kirk Anderson, and it looks like you approved the spinach. Are you okay with a salad, or do you like it steamed, or can we make a spinach salad with like a balsamic vinaigrette? How do you eat your spinach?
I normally just steam it, to be honest, just because it allows me to consume a heck of a lot of it, and it's easy because I was pretty much just doing it, just like brushing my teeth. It was just something to do. I wasn't really eating it because, oh wow, I love the taste of spinach. I was just eating it purely for the nutritional benefits. It was just something to eat with my meals, and I found instead of me sitting there eating a cup of the thing or 2 cups of the stuff, which takes forever,
Right.
I found steaming it was even easier. I can literally devour like half of a container or that entire container steamed in like 2, 3 minutes. So it's just easy to shove it in my mouth and swallow. Yeah, pure
Okay.
simplicity.
Okay. I may put it in here with the steak then. Okay. Then you said broccoli.
Hmm.
How do you feel about butternut squashes? I'm thinking I like presentation and I
Right.
want color. So I've got butternut squash. I've got tomato. Anything, any bright vegetable we could try with
Yeah,
our.
sure. The butternut squash. Let's go with that.
All right. So
And spinach and broccoli, I typically do them because they're the superfoods. They're in that superfood category. They just have so many. You think back to the cartoon with Popeye and the spinach. So there's always some basis in simple urban legends or folk stories. There's always something to that.
I
Spinach
know.
and broccoli has a lot.
Okay. So what I ordered both, y'all. I was so nervous
Yeah.
cooking for Kirk Anderson. So I also got this at Whole Foods. This is the frozen
Mhm.
butternut squash. I have a recipe that I would like to make if you approve. I got
Yep.
this, but I also got just in case in their fresh cut, section because butternut squash, in case anyone is not familiar,
Mhm.
it's got a very thick skin and it's kind of hard to cut. You can get in there, but I
Mm.
have fresh butternut
Okay.
squash. But this one, I don't think it's organic. It just says butternut squash.
Then
So
it is not. Yeah, it's not organic
okay,
in
so
that
then
case.
well, this is what I'd like to do. Let me know for people who miss kind of like the potato kind of experience.
Mhm.
I like to do a roasted butternut squash with kind of a butter and brown sugar, but I use butter, goat's butter for me. I do have regular,
Mhm.
and then I use a brown sugar substitute to avoid. I don't know if you're going to get on to me about these. And then like
What were
cinnamon.
those? I missed that. What was that?
Oh, y'all, I'm in trouble. So I don't know if you've heard of Swerve. They make replace 0-calorie sweeteners. This one is the brown sugar.
Mm.
I have like other sweeteners. So I've got monk.
Okay.
I've got um, allulose. Let me get what I have, and then you
Yeah.
can prove and you can tell us why you're picking the sweeteners that
Okay.
you are. Okay, so I'm gonna grab those, and then let's see. Were there any other questions? Maggie's bringing in the big guns. Oh yes, he's always wearing that, y'all. Look,
Yes.
with me, you get big teeth. With Kirk Anderson, you get big guns. So yes. What about kale? So we got another question while I'm digging out the sweetener. I mean the
Oh, so you might have temporarily lost Maggie.
See the questions in the chat. What are the ingredients? Y'all, I'm about to get in trouble. I also have this one, Sucrin Gold brown sugar replacement. This one is from the Netherlands, erythritol.
Okay.
Okay, keep going. Oh, no sound. Did I mute? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, it's a fitness expert. So
Yeah.
for anyone who's just joined, I'm doing a cooking collab with Kirk Anderson Fitness today. He's got a YouTube channel. Why don't you tell us about your YouTube channel while I'm scrambling for ingredients?
Okay, sure. So it's Kurt D. A. Anderson Fitness. I am a formerly obese guy. I didn't always look like this. I've lost weight twice, lost 65 pounds once, got fat all over again, transformed a second time, and thankfully I did not get fat again. So on my channel, I help people to look great and feel even better because a lot of people, I didn't say this earlier, but most people don't realize how bad they feel till they feel good. So for example, the old me, just brushing my teeth, I couldn't even do it in one go. I'd be brushing my teeth, then I'd have to take a break and stand upright to give my lower back a break, which is obviously ridiculous in hindsight. Or I'd go to get a haircut, and it was embarrassing because my scalp would be flaking like it was snowing, and all of those things magically disappeared when I cleaned up my dad. So that'd be another reason why I'm big on organic. Regardless of what any study might say, granted, you have studies that say organic is good for your skin, blah, 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 blah. But anecdotally, I've also seen it personally or just randomly talking to other people. So on my channel, we don't come with the nonsense. I tell people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. And I challenge the nonsense. For example, waist trainers are extremely popular, especially with ladies. They do not work. Don't care what you say. You may want to say, oh, it works for me. No, it did not work for you. All you did was you lost weight because you're working out or eating better, or you just lost a lot of water weight. It's kind of like having diarrhea, right? You have diarrhea, you lose a lot of water weight, but it comes back. That's what waist trainers do. Total waste of money. So that's the kind of stuff I will say on my channel. I don't come with the nonsensical things of, oh, lose 30 pounds in 30 days or lose your fupa in 2 weeks. That's just nonsense. Didn't take you 2 weeks to get the fupa. It ain't going away in 2 weeks, right? Try to keep it very realistic and honest, and I don't BS people with my videos. That's
Yeah,
kind of my niche.
absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, so I've rummaged through the fridge and I found two
Mhm,
more. So my sweetener choices for my
mhm,
roasted butternut squash, which is like a kind of a candied sweet potato
mhm.
substitute. I have, okay, I think I showed you this one, the sucrin. This one is monk fruit. So this is a
Okay. All right.
granulated sweetener. And then the other one that I have is allulose.
Okay.
So
So the
those,
monk fruit I've heard of before, and I haven't heard of allulose. Generally speaking, all these various sweeteners, they're what's it called? Grass. Generally regarded as a safe, GRAS, right? What that means is it has to be then proven that something bad has to happen for it to be not grass, meaning it gets the benefit of the doubt. I know it's a weird way to do things, but that's how things work. They don't have to prove that. Let's say this was grass. They don't have to prove that it doesn't hurt you. They just have to say it's generally regarded as safe. So with all of these sweeteners, you'll find most experts will say they're okay, just don't consume a ton of them. At the end of the day, especially if you compare, say, diet sodas, I'm just giving an extreme example to regular, your body knows what to do with sugar. Sugar's been around for as long as human beings have been around. Your body knows how to handle sugar.
yep.
If you have a choice between a soda and a diet soda, go with the soda. Your body
Mm,
knows what to do with sugar. It doesn't when you try to trick it sometimes with some of these artificial things, not necessarily the monk fruit.
hmm.
Your body is smarter than you think. It goes, oh, you didn't give us that sugar that we thought we were getting, so now we're going to make you hungry again or thirsty again to give us what we desire. Right? So
Yeah.
just have the sugar. Like I don't have any non-sugar anything. If I want sugar, I use sugar. You know what I mean? It's
Well, I'm here. I got that.
what I say is this. I used to use stevia before a lot. It's a good transition, kind of like when you talked about weaning yourself down. Like I went from soda to orange juice to blah 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 blah. So if
Hmm.
you have an incredible sweet tooth, that's a good way to wean yourself down to the point where you're using regular sugar. And fruit is great. If you feel an urge for something sweet, there's a good chance you're deficient in at least one mineral, magnesium. It's the number one mineral most people are deficient in. Many times when people have sweet tooths, I tell them to take magnesium. Magically, their sweet tooth cravings decrease.
Well, then
Yeah.
I'm going to try it your way. We're going to do it without the sweeteners because butternut squash is actually naturally sweet. For me, it's a
Mhm.
great like substitute for sweet potato. So
Okay.
what I do is start walking through because this is the frozen one. So this is from Whole Foods. This is the
Mhm.
organic butternut squash already peeled and cubed. So
Okay.
you can be putting your questions for Kirk D. Anderson in the chat. If you're on Instagram, you're only seeing me. If you want to see Kirk and actually ask your questions, please come on over to YouTube. Okay, so I'm going to just explain what I've done so far.
Mhm.
I've had the steak. I have a grass-fed ribeye in the air fryer, and I had it in there for about 20 minutes at 300. It's not
Mhm.
done. I'm going to take it out, and it's going to look very sad and very gray. That's what we wanted. So you kind of do a partial cook in the
Mhm.
oven, and then we're going to sear it on the cast iron, but it needs to rest just a little bit first. So I'm going to take that out, and then I'm going to replace it with the butternut squash, and I'm going
Mhm.
to do some oil, just some cinnamon and nutmeg. I think I probably should ask you about oils again too. Okay, so the one that I usually use, I don't know if you're familiar with MCT oil. It's a coconut
Yep.
derivative. Okay, but I also have olive oil. I'm going to go grab the oils that I have, and then you let me know what your what your theory is on oils, because that's another one like the sweeteners, right?
Yeah, so I know with the olive extra virgin olive oil, it has to do with the I forget what the factor is called in terms of how hot you're cooking. Certain oils beyond a certain heat level, they're not healthy, quote unquote. The olive oil is pretty much the go-to for me because I can cook it in whatever kind of heat I want and don't have to worry about any negative side effects. I've cooked with coconut oil before, but yeah, I usually just go with extra virgin olive oil. And
Okay.
if you want to get even more technical, something that's as unprocessed as possible. So, for example, mine would be in a glass container, glass bottle, not a plastic one. Then, secondly, it would be, so, like I said, if you want to get real technical, right, it would also have some kind of disclaimers on it, like, oh, not finely processed, blah 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 blah. Again, the more natural you can get a thing, the better it is for you. Because here's a good way to describe this with an analogy, because people can relate to stories. Let's say my body is like this, and your body is this huge jug, right? So I can only take this much abuse before my skin starts breaking out. I start, itching and this and blah, blah, blah. But maybe you got this big jug. So you can take a lot of junk in your body with no problem. But eventually we'll both overflow, right? So I may have to be more careful with what goes into my body than you, but eventually you will overflow as well. So the moral of the story here is that the less garbage you put in, the better. I try to save the garbage for cheap things like at the movies, eating my Raisinets or my Applebee's spare ribs, because nothing is healthy there, right? Other things I try to keep it as clean as possible. Because it's not just the food. Like when my skin changed, because I have dermatitis, eczema, and psoriasis. Those
Mm,
things don't bother me unless I do stupid stuff. So I
yeah.
cleaned up everything, deodorant. I don't even bother with cologne anymore, pretty much. Like any skincare, hair care product, get it as clean as possible. There's a good website, Environmental Working Group. It's one of those not for profits like Consumer Reports. So if you use a particular product for skincare or your hair, you're a lady or a lipstick, you can find a clean version of said product in there, sometimes by the same stupid manufacturer, which is ridiculous. Johnson and Johnson may make a certain kind of oil and then they'll make this clean version of the oil. So you might as well just buy the clean version, so to speak. Because
Yeah.
again, all these little impurities add up little by little by little. So sometimes when you're breaking out or your hair, like I remember this lady I worked with back in Texas, and she started using hair care products from Whole Foods. And she said she wasn't sure the difference had occurred till her husband told her her hair looked better and felt better. And then she was like, okay, she was fully sold then, right? Because I remember her telling me this stuff costs more, but she was using less of it in her hair. So it worked out. And I don't know to explain it in girly terms, but long and short, her hair was better, right? So,
Like that. You can
yeah,
leave the terms to me. No,
yeah.
you're absolutely right. I mean, the less I do to myself, the better things,
Yeah.
appear. I am definitely not, like a beauty or any type of expert.
Mhm.
You're right. You did also say something about you don't know how bad
Bad
use
you feel until you feel good. Yeah.
and
Most
good. And
people are just suffering and they don't. It was my normal to brush my teeth and take a break, to give my back a break, then keep continue brushing my teeth, which is ridiculous in hindsight, right? Or being
yeah,
embarrassed when you get a haircut, or your joints hurt, or you're this or you're that. All these things can go away because the doctor will tell you, "Oh, it's your genetics." Oh, take this. Man, I was making dermatologists rich, right? I had all kind of cream, all kind of lotion, special shampoos, blah 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 blah. All of that stuff just magically went away when I dropped the weight and I cleaned up. Not just the diet, but my environment. Everything changed. The detergent I use is good. The laundry detergent, the dishwashing liquid. I changed everything. The more I could change, the better. And my skin looks great.
yeah.
All my lab works are great. When I just did physicals, 2 weeks ago now, everything looks great on there.
Mhm.
And yeah.
That is wonderful. That's what I tell my scholars too. Shout out to the scholars, everybody who is a part of Maggie, the substitute teachers class. You've named yourselves the scholars, but I used to be pre-diabetic. I
Me
used to have
too.
cholesterol. I used to be borderline blood pressure, have borderline
Man.
pressure. All of that is normal now with no medication. And, I've shared with my class, I'm 46 and I definitely want to age gracefully.
Yes.
Um, but a lot of the challenges that I had, I just thought, oh, I'm just getting older, right? This is just part of getting older and I'm taking
Mm,
pills and sleeping with the CPAP machine, like all of this stuff. And I don't have to do any of that anymore.
yeah.
And you're right. Once you get healthier and the weight comes off, it's amazing the body's ability to recover. And
Yeah.
I always say, like, the biggest thing for me, like like a lot of us who are active, I had a knee injury that just, I was
Mhm.
like hobbling around and I had to shake it out and it was
Yeah.
really bad. And I'm a very active person. And
Mhm.
when I cleaned up my diet, even before the weight started to come off, the knee pain that I was taking up to 10 pain pills a day for
Wow.
went away. So it's really, can be what we consume. So I love that you said that. Oh,
That's
Jess,
like
oh,
inflammation.
oh, sorry, I get
No,
excited.
that's fine. That's that inflammation that you can't see. A lot of people don't understand that they are living in a very inflamed environment. So, for example, ladies can relate to this. If you take your finger and you stick your hand, right, you'll feel it. Now, if you left your finger there with your nail sticking into your hand for 6 months, you wouldn't notice. It's just background noise now. But if you removed it and stuck yourself again, it'll be like, ouch, right? That's what it's like when you're constantly eating bad things, putting bad stuff in your hair and your skin, blah, 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 blah. You have to give your body a break and you reintroduce him, then you're like, oh, wow. Oh, I didn't realize it was doing that to me. That is the issue. That is the issue. You just don't realize how messed up you are until you remove. I remember my brother took a break from pizza, and then when he reintroduced it, he had huge flare up on his scalp, and he was like, "Damn!" So he couldn't pretend it is what it is. And nowadays, you can get clean versions of almost any vice, right? I love ice cream cake sandwiches. I get the organic ones. They don't break me out nowhere near as bad as the regular ones out bad at the gas station. Let's say, right? You get
Somebody's
our-
cream sandwich. Oh my
yeah.
goodness. Okay, we've got another question. Caudell, I'm coming to your question. I want to go ahead and get this butternut squash, excuse me, in the air fryer. So I'm just showing my class what I'm doing. So this was frozen butternut squash from
Mhm.
Foods. I just have, y'all know me and my prep containers. So Mr. Kirk Anderson has approved olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. Caudell does have a question about avocado oil because that's one thing I don't like about my MCT oil. It's not good for like pan frying. It makes the kitchen very smoky. So what I'm gonna do, and I just kind of eyeball, but I'm putting some oil in here just enough to coat it because I'm gonna put the seasonings in here and then shake it up. So we're gonna skip the sweetener because when you cook these things, they caramelize anyway. I'm just gonna do a little salt, a little pepper, and then some nutmeg and cinnamon. So
Mhm.
whatever warming spice you like. So this is just, don't get at me, but this is just dollars for nutmeg. I know I need to get the organic spices. Um, so I just have that, and then I have some just regular Walmart cinnamon. If any of this is wrong, let me
Well,
know.
slowly look at it this way. So, for example, cinnamon, there's certain benefits regarding blood sugar, right?
Mm-hmm.
insulin. And a lot of us, you'll put on weight because your body doesn't, your blood sugar management isn't good. You eat some carbs, something sweet, and insulin spikes, and some of it gets stored to fat.
Yeah.
Now, the cinnamon that's good for that is Ceylon cinnamon, Ceylon, not regular cinnamon. So if you think you're getting some health benefit from regular cinnamon, you're not. You have to get Ceylon cinnamon. And again,
Okay.
I'll get the organic Ceylon cinnamon. So you'll get the same taste benefits which you're trying to achieve without, using something super sweet. But if you're
Okay.
trying to get the the blood sugar management benefits, use Ceylon cinnamon for that.
Good to know.
And the other thing that I try to tell people regarding when you buy something and you say, oh, but because people don't like to stop using things. They're like, oh, I spent all this money I bought this perfume, this cologne, I bought all this stuff in my pantry. I can't just throw it away. Well, there's this principle in accounting because I'm a certified public accountant as well. That's my full-time job.
Ah, fancy. Okay, you were busy during tax season, but okay.
Well, I don't do taxes. Do not do
Okay.
taxes. Yeah, I do auditing. But
Ah,
anyway, there's a principle called the sunk cost, right? So if I bought this, which I did, now if I took some sips of this and it tasted bad and I couldn't return it, let's say I didn't buy this at Whole Foods, I would pour it away. Some people are like, oh, but I bought it, I have to use it. No, the money is gone, it can't come back. So if I go to a movie, I've done this before. 30 minutes in, I am convinced this movie is total garbage. I will get up and leave. I'm not going to sit there for an hour and a half to confirm and waste an hour and a half of my time. The money is gone. The money can't come back. Right? So I'm just
wow.
going to get up and leave. I'll actually, if anything, buy another ticket to another movie to at least have a good movie that night. The point being to this is I've done this with people before. I've looked at all these other bottles, the this. I'm like, look, you bought this crap years ago. The money is gone. Just put it in a garbage bag, donate it, throw it away, do whatever you want to do with it. Just get rid of it. There's no reason to keep it because people get attached to these things that they bought 5, 10 years ago. Just buy new ones. It's
You're
not that
right.
expensive to buy some organic garlic powder or pepper or whatever, right?
You're absolutely right. I have to do that because I'm sitting here looking at this like I'm almost done with this Walmart
Yeah.
stuff, and then I'll for your on. We did have two more questions, but I'm going to get this.
Okay.
I have your questions. They're coming. I'm doing the pink Himalayan sea salt in honor of Keisha, and then just a
Okay.
little fresh black pepper. So no sweetener. You could probably do this with sweet potato or any roasting vegetable
Mhm.
that's savory. So then I'm putting the top on it, and I'm just going to shake it like a shaker salad or a salt shaker or
Right.
whatever you shake it like. And this is from frozen. It would also work from fresh, but I want to go ahead and get these in the air fryer. So I just take the top off just to see. I want to make sure everything is
Mhm.
nicely coated. You guys can kind of see we've got, some coating on there.
Right.
It's not bad. I probably would do a little bit more since I need to use up this cinnamon. I'll get everything nicely coated
Right.
and a dollop more of oil. And then these are going to go in the air fryer, and I'm just going to roast them probably like at 400 until they get kind of, I don't know what temperature that is, like fork tender. So you could do this in a bowl with your hands or with tongs. All right. So this is good. So this is what I have going in. And then
Looks
what
yummy.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, that looks yummy.
No, it's not even cooked yet. So we're
Mm,
going to take our steak out of the air fryer. Now remember,
okay.
for like 20 minutes in there, it's going to look very sad. All right. So you can see this is, whoa, this
Right.
is, but you can see our steak, and I intentionally took it out and I'm letting it rest. We're going to pan
Mm,
sear it and give it a nice golden buttery crust if Kirk Anderson says that's okay. So I'm going to move the
yeah,
steak away. Okay,
that is
great.
okay.
It is okay? Okay,
It
one.
is. It is. One tip I can say when you're doing the oils, I know for people who are trying to track their macros, their calories, etc. One mistake they make, and I made it too, is they don't track things they add to the food, like oil, things they sprinkle. If it has calories in there, then you have to count it. And it's very easy to pour a lot. For example, I had a client, she would add the salad dressing, and I told her, well, how much? She's like, I don't know, I just eyeball it. And I was like, okay, Measure it next time. And she was shocked. She was like, holy crap. She was adding like 500 calories to these salads. She was like, wow, you know? So she still added the salad dressing, but she would just do a teaspoon instead of like just, soaking it in the thing, so to speak. So that's a good tip.
You're absolutely right. I'm always talking about beverages and condiments because
Hmm.
sometimes put on our food
Yeah.
is sometimes worse than the food. We've got a couple of questions
Yes.
back. I just changed the foil, and I don't know if you all saw, but the foil that I had under for the ribeye, because it's very lean, because this is grass fed,
Yeah.
had a little bit of liquid at the bottom, but I'm moving to vegetables in another tray.
Mm.
So we didn't get a lot of fat dripping off, which you would from a regular ribeye. So what
Oh,
I do, so
I did
my
not know that.
yeah, if you cook a
Did not know that.
bacon, you're gonna get a lot of fat dripping off.
Mm.
So I
Okay.
have a tray, and then I didn't measure the oil, but this is frozen butternut squash. I'm just gonna
Hmm.
put it onto the roasting tray.
Okay.
It's gonna go in the air fryer. So this is gonna be like my substitute for a sweet potato. If it were me, I'd have some sweetener on it, but we're gonna try with salt, pepper, nutmeg, and cinnamon. Next time it'll be the Ceylon cinnamon. So we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
put it in the air fryer, and I'm gonna let you answer. We had a couple of questions.
Okay.
Oh, yes, we talked about condiments. I have a question about condiments, but I had a couple here. There was one about olive oil. Okay, so let's go to this one. Any um, tips about eating according to your blood type? I have heard about that.
So regarding your blood type, I've heard about this, but I've not researched this to be honest. At the end of the day, all it comes down to if you're trying to lose weight and transform is calories in, calories out. It doesn't matter what kind of diet. You could follow the most fantastic diet ever. If you eat more than you burn, you cannot lose weight. It is what it is. If you burn 2,000 calories a day and you consume 2,500 or 2,800 or 4,000, you're not losing weight. People try to find the special diet, the new craze, whether it's intermittent fasting, keto, or whatever. The studies clearly show all of them are pretty much the same, right? There's none of them are superior to the others. As a matter of fact, there are downsides to some of them, right? Whether it's keto or intermittent fasting. Because people are like, oh, I lost a lot of weight on intermittent fasting, and then they gain it back. Why is that? Because they just were eating not enough food. They tried to eat all the meals between noon and 6 p.m. or something, and inevitably they started eating less than they normally ate, which is why they shrunk. But then their metabolism got screwed up. Then they put back on the weight, and they get frustrated, and the yo-yo dieting continues. Right? Just go from one diet every couple of years to the next diet, to the next diet, to the next diet, and it's not the diet that's the issue.
Yeah, I love what you said about calories in, calories out. Just
Yeah.
in case anybody's new here, my scholars know this, but I'm working with a metabolic specialist because I agree with you. If we really want to be successful at something, we hire a professional. And if
Yes.
I could have taken, care of my health by myself, I would have done it, right? There's something I can do, kind of like cook without assistance, but we all
Yeah.
have to start somewhere. And I remember, I bought into the lie that I'm big boned or I'm plus size.
Yes.
None of that is true, right? There are no
Nope.
skeletons. But she took one look at me, even at my larger size, and she said, you're not really that big. You
Hmm.
just have a lot of inflammation. Like when she looked
Yeah.
at my frame, and I had never
Yeah.
heard about this inflammation that you
Hmm.
said we live under. So I did a food sensitivity test,
Hmm.
and for me, that was a cheek swab and then some hair samples. And then I got a list of foods that my body processes well, and a
Hmm.
list of foods that my body doesn't, process well.
Right.
So I just kind of eat on that list. But interestingly enough, it is lean protein, select fruits and veggies,
Yeah.
very little starch, and close to no sugar. Which,
Okay.
like I said, when you look at any whether you do Weight Watchers or
Hmm.
Nutrisystem or keto or whatever, that's why I tell my scholars, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think they all work because ultimately, calories in,
Yes.
yeah, if my list of approved foods just happen to be lower calorie
Hmm.
foods, then I'm eating lower calories,
Yeah.
right? So spin it however you want, but I feel amazing when I eat what I'm supposed to and I splurge selectively and I pay for it the next day. So you are absolutely right about that. There was another question. Oh, yes, about avocado oil. which I know a lot of people use, and that's good for frying because it has a high smoke point. But Kirk, what do
Mhm.
you say about avocado oil?
Yes, it's all about the smoke point. That's why I tend to just keeping it simple for myself. I just always grab the extra virgin olive oil. So yeah, anything with a high smoke point. Because to be honest, I just didn't want to calculate. Oh, for this thing I can use coconut oil. For that thing I need to use that. I just got tired of that, and I just went to the ones with the highest smoke point. You know, the extra virgin olive oil and things of that nature. That's pretty much what I did.
So, what is your specialty? I know when I saw your cooking video, you did jerk chicken thighs. I remember you did
Right.
like meal prep. So, you cook. I work from home, and so I cook each meal. I know that's a lot for some people, but I come from corporate. So, pre pandemic, I had the commute and all of that. But now I do have the luxury. I'm grateful to have access to the kitchen. So, I like to prepare something like for that
Right.
meal. But how do you cook? Are you once a week and you prep? I saw you had a whole pan of chicken thighs,
Yes.
did like spinach, and what works for you?
So I meal prep once a week. That is going to be the easiest method to do because inevitably, if you're trying to do what you do and you don't have a great system in place, you're going to get hungry. You won't have food to eat because you're too busy, too tired, too this, too that, and you'll have to go eat bad. It is what it is. There's a myth that people think, oh, they eat a ton of different kinds of foods. You don't. The studies show you eat a hand. Like if you actually tracked what you ate, you will see you eat the same things over and over again at your house. And when you go to restaurants, you order pretty much the same things over and over again. It's all in your head that you eat this wide variety of food items. You do not. Therefore, you can meal prep. You can meal prep certain veggies, certain meats. You can meal prep rice, sweet potatoes, what have you. So when you're hungry, the food is there and ready to eat because it's very difficult to transform without tracking. It's like if you're trying to drive from point A to point B, you have no GPS, no speedometer, no radar detector if you're driving fast, no gas gauge. The odds of you getting from A to B is slim to none. I resisted tracking food for the longest time because I was losing, but as soon as I started tracking, the losing sped up and the muscle gain sped up as well. And it's surprisingly liberating. I remember when it hit me. Going to the comedy club one night, they had a 2 drink minimum, and I used to just order 2 glasses of wine just to get it out of the way. And I remember when it dawned on me that, you know what, if I just ate less rice, and I did the calculation, it would almost be the same amount of calories, minus the alcoholic effect that can make you get fat. And I remember thinking, wow, this is so liberating. Just because I know what I eat, I can adjust earlier in the day to splurge later at night. That's one of the powers of meal prepping. Because most times when you're going to go with your friends, guy friends, girlfriends, whatever, you know in advance what you're going to do later. So you can plan. If you want to eat feast tonight, then just eat less during the day. But if you don't know what the hell you're eating, you can't eat less. You're just guessing. You're just making wild ass guesses. So your
Yeah,
weight will go down for a couple weeks, then it go up, then down. But you don't know what you were doing when it was working, and you don't know what you were doing when it was failing. So again, this leads to frustration, and you give up after you lose your 20 pounds. You put on 25, so now you're net +5, the wrong direction. So
I
it's a bit.
know. We've all been, yeah, I was just about to ask you this, but Mona asked a question because I was going to ask. Okay, so I don't track, but it sounds like you do. So what do you? So Mona's asking, what do you recommend for tracking your macros? What apps do you use? Paper and pencil or whatever. If you guys are on Instagram, you can hop over to YouTube, Maggie the Substitute Teacher, if you want to ask questions or see Kirk Anderson Fitness. So how do you track what you eat, Kirk?
My Fitness Pal. I do not recommend pen and paper at all. It takes long. You're gonna lose it. You can't easily see what, like I can go back to 2020, 2018 and see exactly what I ate on today, 3 years ago. Can't do that with pen and paper, right? So, and the apps nowadays are much better. Like My Fitness Pal, you can swipe tomorrow what you ate today. So for example, say you track your breakfast and most of you eat the same stuff, right? So next morning, you just with your finger, you just go, and it loads everything from the day before. So simple, right? Any slight adjustments, like you can click add food, it will bring up all the things you typically eat, and then you just pick, 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 pick. Boom, you're good to go. It takes no time. You can see at the end of the day the total calories you do, and again, you can start to see are you hitting your targets because the reality is for people who don't track, here's what's going to happen. You start eating better, you work out, and it starts going down, and eventually it will stop. That's what's going to happen. It's just going to stop. And then maybe you get on a little bit more, but let's say you lose 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 pounds and you feel great, which is awesome because I know how hard it is to do this. But when you look in the mirror, can you honestly say you look the way you want to look? Do you look fantastic? Are you very happy? No. And that's not going to happen without tracking. It's impossible. The best looking physiques on the planet, they track and they got elite genetics. Their genetics are better than mine. They're better than yours. So if they track, what the hell are the odds of you not tracking and being successful? Slim to none. Slim to none. Slim to none.
Well, that MyFitnessPal sounds amazing. I don't know. Do you have a coupon code or is it a free
It's
app?
free. It's
Oh,
free. Yeah.
even better than
Yeah.
that. So
It's
I'm being
free.
nosy. If you don't mind sharing, like how many
Yeah.
calories does Kirk Anderson? Because I have no idea how many
Right.
calories.
Like 2,800 to 3,000 calories a day. A lot. So here's another benefit, right? So when I lost the 65 pounds years ago, I remember I was doing a triathlon program and it came with this nutritionist and she had all these certifications. She was this Olympic certified nutrition, blah, 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 blah. So she educated me on this thing, your basal metabolic rate, your resting metabolic rate. So we did the official test where you put the tube and you breathe. It takes, I don't know, like 15, 20 minutes. So it was an accurate, not a formula. And it was like 1,000 or 1,100 calories. That's what my body was burning a day, which is what a child burns. Grown adults should not be burning such little. This is what happens to a lot of people when they're fat. The yo-yo dieting, all the many, many bad things they do, their metabolism is terribly slow. And then they compound it by dieting, and it becomes this vicious cycle. But I don't want to get into that. So I remember her telling me this is going to be difficult because your metabolism sucks. She was very blunt. So for you to lose weight with a shitty metabolism is going to be tricky. Sorry for the swearing. And we worked it out, and it worked good. Except I did lose some muscle, and I remember thinking, why am I losing muscle? Because I was getting my body fat checked monthly with the bod pod at the time. It was at some hospital. It was heavily discounted. It was like $25. Anyway, fast forward to when I got fat again. I knew to go get this check, and no surprise, it was crappy again. It was like 1,100 calories. About a year or so later, I got tested again, and it was 2,100 calories. So what that means in practical terms is this. If I lay in bed all day and do nothing, I burn 2,100 calories. So what that means is I can eat 2,000 calories a day and sit on my ass and not get fat. Most people, they eat at 2,000 calories, sit on their ass all day, they will eventually get fat. So by paying my dues and fixing my metabolism, I can now enjoy food. So when I go on vacation, I'll eat 4,000, 5,000 calories a day, and either the weight stays the same or I'll lose a pound or two.
Oh, that sounds.
Yeah. So, but you have to pay your dues, right? So when people try to do these things where they don't track and they're just winging it, let's say, whatever it's like I feel like I'm cheating, right? I can eat like a pig and still look exactly like this when I come back from vacation. There's no difference. I'm doing everything you shouldn't do. Drinking sugary alcoholic drinks. Because the Jamaican Christmas cake is ridiculously loaded. It's loaded with gazillion grams of sugar. It's marinated the fruit for a year in rum. So it's cake, alcoholic cake. And I'm just devouring this daily for like a week or two. Right? And I go on the scale and it's still the same. Right? My second coach, I remember he went on vacation to London once and he lost like 5 pounds. He's just pigging out. So it sounds ludicrous, but you have to fix your metabolism, right? And most of us don't eat enough food. It's very counterintuitive when I tell people, if you want to lose weight, you got to eat more. They're like, what? No, that's going to make me fat. Yeah, eating too much did get you fat, but you also need to eat more to not get fat. I know it's a mind, it blows people's brains, but if you don't believe me, just Google it. The good example is with The Biggest Loser. When all these people lost all this weight, most of them gained it back and then some, right? And if you Google research, just Google it, you'll see some studies with the NIH, National Institute of Health, where they checked them and their resting metabolic rate, they crushed their metabolism. Their metabolism sucked. And to fix it, they had to get these people to start to eat more food. Again, it's very counterintuitive, but this is just another of many, many examples why you should hire a professional. Because if most of the stuff I've said here today you've never heard of, just imagine the gazillion more things in my head or any other really good person's head that you've never heard of, right? I mean, when I showed one of my live streams, I showed the pictures of my 3 coaches. they look ridiculous. People pay to take pictures of these people, right? Therefore, they really knew what they were doing in essence. And if you got to be honest with yourself, if you want to have your hair look great, sure, you can do your hair at home. But if you go to a really, really good hairdresser, she will make your hair look fantastic, right?
Oh, yeah. I definitely believe in
Yeah.
high professionals for expertise. I'm just showing what I have now. These are going to go back into the air fryer.
Hmm.
A cookbook is coming because you do need a cookbook, but
Hmm.
my mom taught me to kind of use all of my senses when cooking. So I just wanted
Hmm.
butternut squash. If you guys remember, this started as frozen, and you
Yeah.
can hear that we have now. If we had sugar on it, it would have like a nice glaze. But I'm going to taste one. You can kind of see here that it's starting to soften up a little bit. These are
Hmm.
I want them to get more, a little bit more like caramelized, if you will. But
Hmm.
I'm taste one to see how well it's done. Taste your food, of course, if it's not raw, because I want to get started on searing the steak, so everything is done at the same time.
Hmm.
Ooh, mmm, very very naturally sweet. So again, this is butternut
Yeah.
squash. Eat sweet potato, that's fine. But if you're trying to find a substitute, and just with the salt, pepper, nutmeg, and cinnamon, tossed in
Hmm.
a little bit of oil. So these are going to go back into the air fryer, but the texture is great. It gives you kind of that sweet potato fry experience.
Ah,
Butternut squash. Okay,
nice.
so I do want to talk about butter, and
Hmm.
I'm going to pan sear the steak, and I do it in butter. So I wanted to know your thoughts on cooking in butter.
Yeah, so if the butter is healthy butter, again, nothing crazy, nothing wrong with butter. I mean, it's all about hitting your macros. So whether you want to get your fat from butter or ice cream or a piece of bacon, it's a matter of how much you consume. And well, if you're doing bacon, I would get it from organic, regular, not regular bacon, as I spoke about earlier when they do autopsies on the pigs. The pigs that eat regular stuff, they're normal. The pigs that ate the GMO and all that other kind of crap, the liver cirrhosis of the liver, their heart damage, blah 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 blah. So it comes back again to tracking, right? Because if you don't know how much fat you're getting a day, inevitably you will eat too much. People tend to eat too much fat, too much carbs, and not enough protein. Those are generally where people go wrong, I would say. So again, it's more like picking what you really want. So if you really want the fat from ice cream, get your fat from the ice cream. If you really want it from the bacon, get it from the bacon. But you can't get too much fat. You can't do the bacon, the ice cream, the cake, the this, the that. You got to pick which one you want the most. So for example, let's say during cherry season, which is coming up, I'm going to devour bags of cherries a day. So there's no more sugar usage because I can't put 2 tablespoons of sugar in my tea and then devour cherries because right now the sugar is to me is like I'm wasting potential cherries I could be devouring. So I'm just not going to do that. I'll even maybe stop drinking these kombuchas, right? Because I love cherries that much. You kind of have to pick. So even though I say I can splurge on vacation, that lasts like a week or two. I can't do this all year. But I
Yeah.
can splurge strategically all year. You know what I mean? If I do a bunch of ice cream cake sandwiches, then I'm not going to do the fish oil. That way, the fat, you're playing with the numbers basically. You
Oh,
can't get too much of any one thing.
okay. That makes sense
Mhm.
because I do want you, I'm going to show you the butter options that I have
Mhm.
on service. But I would like for you to talk about macros because maybe I'm ignorant. Maybe everybody knows what that is. But when you say macros, what does that mean? It sounds like you allocate a certain amount of type of food per day. So whether it's your fats, whether it's
Yeah.
your and then when you say you need to make sure you get your macros or you're hitting your targets, I want to understand. So because I'm cal sensitive, I'm sensitive to cow dairy. This is what
Okay.
I get. It's also from Whole Foods. This is
Okay.
Delamere butter, but it's made from goat's milk. It's a UK brand. Uh,
Mhm.
and then for the kids, I have like just regular Land O'Lakes butter. Okay, he's
So,
laughing.
so the kids don't like the goat's milk one.
Okay, I'm gonna be really honest here. This stuff is expensive.
Okay. Well, come on. You got to give them the healthy stuff. They're growing.
I That's a true statement, and usually I do. I mean, honestly, okay, yeah, you're right. Full stop. I
Yeah.
should, but
They'll thank you later in life when they're tall and handsome and buff.
thank you. Okay, so butter, you probably prefer like the grass fed. I know
Yeah.
Kerrygold has one. I don't know if this is approved.
Yeah, I
But
usually use Kerrygold, but it's funny you said the goat. Goats is good because the protein powders I use is from goats because the protein molecules are smaller from the goat's milk compared to cow's milk. So I like to say it's closer to what mother's milk would be in a sense. So yeah, nothing wrong with goats, basically. I mean, at the end of the day, you just want it to be as clean as possible. So the goats one over the Land O'Lakes one.
okay, wonderful. Thank you for saying that because I use goat's cheese. Uh,
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
shredded that did come from Whole Foods. I buy my own. I'm always telling my scholars about goat's
Yeah.
milk products, but I didn't really have the scientific reason why. So thank you
Right.
for explaining that it's closer to the molecules and all of that good
Yes,
stuff. I know.
decided. So one quick thing with 365. So back in the day, Whole Foods used to, when I first started to eat healthy, well, actually, I was just trying to go fast in triathlons. So later on, doing research, I realized there was health benefits to eating healthy. So I was that clueless. And they used to have something called conventional and organic. So they were clever, because conventional sounds good. It's like natural, right? When you see a product that says natural or all natural, half the time is BS. You know what's natural? Poop is natural. Tar is natural. Arsenic is natural. Anything that is naturally occurring is natural. So they can use it in the products, right? So natural is a clever way to trick people. Similarly, Whole Foods got eventually they stopped using conventional because when I go in the store and I see conventional whatever broccoli, I go, "Oh, that must be good." I didn't even know what organic meant, but conventional sounds cool, so I'd grab conventional. It's only later I found out conventional was the same garbage they were selling at, say, a Walmart, for example, at the time, right? So point being, when you see 365, that doesn't mean it's healthy. The Whole Foods CEO himself has said, not everything in our store is healthy or good for you, right? So, you know, you have to be very clever with reading the food labels because their goal is to trick you. They'll use all little subtleties with the wording. There was a good example the other day, but I can't remember now. When you read it on the first glance, oh, this is healthy. But if you read the fine print carefully, you realize they're playing word games. The lawyers, they cleverly word things to trick you, so to speak. So you got to be careful with that.
Okay. Yeah, and it can be confusing for, the lay person. You go and
Yes.
you all of these snacks and things that are supposed to
Mhm.
be healthy, but that's why you need an expert like Kirk D. Anderson to guide you through these choices. Okay, so if you guys have questions for Kirk, please put them in the chat. We're going to come
Mhm.
to them. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pan sear our ribeye. So again, I bought for Kirk Anderson my first
Thank
ever
you.
grass-fed ribeye from Whole Foods. So I put it in the oven. I just seasoned it with a little salt, pepper, and the herb de Provence. So I put it in the air fryer. It could be oven for you partially. This looks very gray and sad.
Right.
So what I have here, I have my cast iron skillet, and just in case anybody's new here, I also bought, this is completely optional, I have this little glass cooktop, so I don't have to go back and forth to the stove like
Ah,
I'm doing right here. So I'm going to go ahead and pan sear because we've got a few minutes left on our butternut squash, and then the spinach. I'm just going to, when I'm letting the steak rest, I'm just going
yeah.
to kind of toss it in the same
Okay.
butter. Okay, so cast iron is going on, and then
Right.
I'm turning this on medium, and I have one that's already open, but what I'm using is the butter from the goat's milk. This did come from Whole Foods, so that's the butter, but if you can get grass-fed, really good quality, that's better. Choose your good fats.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm gonna do is, I'm just gonna go ahead and put, this is probably a lot. I don't know. I need to get better with measurements, but it's probably like 3 tablespoons. I'm just going to put it down in here. If I don't use all of it, that's fine. But what I want it to do, I want the butter to melt down. Yeah, this is really a lot. Let me take some.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going over the pan and I'll show you guys what we have. And you just want to keep your eye on butter because butter goes from solid to melted to foaming and sizzling to burnt pretty fast. When you're
Yeah.
making coffee, that's fine. So I'll show you guys what I have. A nice little
Mm.
coat of butter.
That
So
was quick. You're right. Melted pretty
yeah,
quick.
and I'll tell you guys about it. So I'm just waiting for it to all sizzle. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this ribeye, and for the proper sear, ooh, it's nice and warm on the cutting
Mm.
board. I'm going to take the ribeye and I'm going to put it into the pan, and I'm going to leave it probably for about 3 to 4, maybe 5 minutes. That's when you get that nice buttery crust on
Right.
the steak. Then we'll turn it over and do the same thing. All right, so here we go. We've let our ribeye rest
Hmm.
from the oven.
Yummy.
We're going to go into the cast iron. Okay, so I'm just gonna let it sit. I'm gonna check on my squash. And what was that? Ooh, it smells. Oh my gosh. The smell, it smells different from a regular steak. It has, this one is
Oh,
here. It has a very steaky smell, meaning like a very clean smell, unlike I don't know, like when you get other meat and
I,
I don't plastic or something, like it smells like a very clean steak and kind of grassy.
I
So
think I know what you mean now that you mention it. Like when
yeah,
I'd go to a restaurant and smell the steak compared to my steak.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
Poppy
didn't thought of that.
Blanco, I am making a pan-seared ribeye, butternut squash, roasted butternut squash, and some steamed spinach for dinner tonight in honor of Kirk D. Anderson. So let's see, what other questions did you all have? Yes, we're going with the cast iron skillet. We talked about the butter; it's just in there sitting. What else have we talked? We talked about beverages. What else? What common mistakes? What other things do people do?
Well, I would say sleep is a huge common mistake. By the way, I wish I was there. That looks yummy, yummy, yummy. So I wear this ring, this Oura ring on my right hand. Well, I guess it looks like my left hand on the screen. But anyway, so this is the best sleep tracking device you can get. And a big mistake people make is they don't get enough sleep. If you're trying to transform your body and you're not sleeping, that's not going to happen. It's almost impossible to effectively lose weight with poor sleep. It just does not work. If you don't believe me, again, you can go to Google. You probably should. You shouldn't believe everything people tell you. Right? If you do not get enough sleep, you can't lose weight, and it's obviously very unhealthy for you. I just did a show recently on that. When you don't get enough sleep, all the terrible things that can happen, increase the risk of heart attack, heart disease, everything skyrockets. And in the Black community, that's pretty bad, as some of you guys probably know already. So sleep is a thing people screw up a lot. When you don't get enough good sleep, the hunger hormone ghrelin gets all messed up. So if you think about it, for those of you who may occasionally or chronically get poor sleep, you ever notice when you have a really bad night, you have sugar cravings? You may crave fruit or just even more sugary things than usual. That's not an accident. Because when this hunger hormone kicks in, because you're stressing out your body, your body doesn't know you sleeping 4 or 5 hours a night because you're just busy or you stayed up late or you're in a jungle somewhere and you can only sleep the 4 or 5 hours a night because you're being hunted by some hostile tribe and you're all stressed out. So your body's like, we need energy. Let's make him or her go devour some sweet things to get energy. So sleep is a big thing where people screw up when they're trying to transform. They're like, oh, but I eat healthy, I work out, I can't lose weight, but their sleep sucks. Their sleep is terrible.
Yeah, I think that is so true. Not only are we, craving the wrong things, we're cranky, we're more
Yes.
distracted. Like sleep is so important. I know a lot of people think, oh, that's just for kids, but what
Mm,
do you recommend as adults? I know everybody's different, but what do you recommend the proper amount of sleep? Then we're going to turn our ribeye, Papi Blanco. I'm going to show you what I have here. So go ahead.
7 to 9 hours a day or per night rather is good for most people. And if you can't get that in, naps are not just for kids or old people. Even as little as 20 minutes makes a difference. So if you didn't get that full sleep in, you can always nap. And just one thing, you cannot catch up on sleep. That has been scientifically proven. So if let's pretend you are losing 1 hour of sleep per day and on Saturday Sunday you made it up, it does not matter. You don't actually make it up. Once it's gone, it's gone. Your body can't go back and get the benefits of the sleep. If you missed it, it's just gone.
Absolutely. Okay, I think I'm going to turn over my ribeye now. Let me show you guys what I have in the cast iron. Literally, it's just here in the butter. Well, here
Hmm.
we go. So now I'm going to turn it over. Hopefully, we have a very nice sear on the bottom side.
Ooh, nice. That looks very yummy.
Yeah. So we've got a nice sear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over and put it in the pan
Mm.
the other side. And then I'm just going to kind of baste with the butter that's kind of around here. You
Mhm.
can throw in like a sprig of thyme or rosemary, some garlic. I had some, but I'm just doing it basic. So we're gonna let this sear, and I'm just leaving it to get that nice crust. Then we'll let it rest, get our spinach wilted, and then we'll plate. Okay, we've got another question from C. Miles while I'm getting my steak facial. Craving, are they due to nutritional deficiency?
Yes, sometimes that is very much true because, for example, if you don't get enough carbs, you're going to crave carbs. And you tend to crave the bad kind, the sweet, sugary things. And yes, so for example, if you're low in magnesium and potassium, you can crave sweet things. This is true. Yeah, if you eat a ton of, say, McNuggets or I don't know, bad Chinese food, and you're starving again, that's your body. Your body didn't get what it needed, so it's like, okay, you gave us a bunch of food, quote unquote food, but we didn't get anything out of it. So now we got to make you hungry again to go and try and get the food that we need, or sorry, the nutrients that we need. So yes, that is definitely a thing.
So great. What other questions do you guys have? I see people talking about sleep. Naps are great. I like naps, but I also, for me, like if I know I've been pushing it, I like going
Mm.
to bed early, like 8 or 9
Yes.
o'clock, and getting a good night's sleep. But I say do whatever works, and that's great what you said about you can't make up on sleep. Sometimes
Uh,
people think I'll just catch up
yeah.
later. Miles says that's a dirty trick. I don't know, what did I do wrong now, y'all? What other questions do you guys have? We have Kirk Anderson Fitness here. Please put your questions in the chat. What I'm going to do now, I know you said you like your steak medium. No, you said like well, right? Or well
No, I
done.
used to. I used to, but now it's medium. Yeah, now
Me-
it's medium.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
Now
gonna
it's
get the
medium.
temperature and get in the middle and see what the steak is looking like because I think we've got our good sear and I'm gonna take it out. But what other questions? If you guys are on Instagram, please hop over to YouTube. We've got Kirk Anderson Fitness here for a cooking collaboration, and we're getting ready to plate. Let's see if I missed any questions here.
I saw the dirty trick. They're saying when your body does what it does when you don't get a good night's sleep or you're nutrient deficient, it somewhat punishes you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so talk about that when it's almost like it snowballs, right? When you
Yeah.
haven't.
It's even worse. It's even more insidious because when they do sleep deprivation studies, after a couple of weeks, you can't tell that you're sleep deprived. So, for example, let's pretend that, say you made 5 dinners per day. I'm just making up a number. No, no, 20 dinners per day in this job. You're selling stuff out to your house, right? And suddenly we sleep deprive you to 6 hours, which most sleep studies they push you down to six just to show you that six is not normal. And and a couple of weeks later they say, "Hey, how are things going? You're still doing?" You're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." Then they show you that, you know what, Maggie, you're actually doing 19, sometimes 18 dinners per day, but you didn't consciously perceive the drop off in your efficiency, the amount of your work output. And the theory is that it's some kind of self defense mechanism to let you not be aware. Ooh, that looks yummy. It looks very delicious.
So it is thick. So I'm gonna put this over on the side. I'll let you guys see. So I just have the ribeye out and I have it resting. So we've got a nice
Mm.
sear. It's cooked, and I'm going to let it. It will continue to cook. I'm gonna put it out of the way. I am not eating this. It's too big. But go ahead and put the spinach in the cast iron. So go ahead. What you were saying about the snacks? I think you were talking about snacks.
Yeah, that steak distracted me. I lost my train of thought.
You know what? I'm definitely willing to cook for you next time you're in Atlanta, or any YouTuber.
Yeah.
If you have a YouTube channel and you're in Atlanta, please come through. I did a collab with Amethyst. I'd love to cook for you. We could talk about because it's something we
Yeah.
all do. So I've got this baby spinach. I wanted to make a salad, but I'm going to see if I can
Oh,
roast
you can
what
make a salad. Yeah, could that be interesting with the butternut squash, right?
I wanted to do. I'm going to put a little bit in here, but
Yeah.
thank you. I will make a salad too. But
Yeah.
um,
I'm open minded to try different things when it comes to eating. Yeah, I'm willing to experiment.
Then I'm gonna pan fry some shallots so I get a little bit of onion in
Mhm.
here and the spinach and see how it goes. But I interrupted you with the steak, so go ahead.
Mhm. You're gonna have to jog my memory. So we're talking snacks. What about snacks exactly? What were we talking about?
I think we were talking about cravings when you
Ah,
mhm.
gotcha. Yeah. So yeah. Oh no, now I remember. Where after a couple of weeks of lack of sleep, you can't perceive that you're tired. So if you get a bad night's sleep, okay, nice. And you feel sluggish the next day. If you do that for a couple of weeks, then you won't feel sluggish the next day. That'll be your new normal. You'll just wake up and feel like that's how it is, but that's not how it is. And then if you get a good night's sleep, you feel fantastic the next day. But you're supposed to feel fantastic every day, and that should be quote unquote normal for you.
Mhm.
That's how insidious it can be, unfortunately.
Yeah, I like to say, the body craves, unfortunately, more of what you do to it. So if you give it the good stuff, it's going to want
Yes,
more. And if you give it the not good stuff, it's going to want more of that. So I
true.
a little bit of, I don't know if you do like sauteed onion and mushroom on your steak. I have some shallot here. I'm just going to toss it in with this spinach because it's wilting really well for a little bit on top of the steak. Oh my gosh, Keisha says you got to start a whole channel. Okay, what are y'all talking about? Something about 100-calorie snack packs. Oh no, you don't. Ha ha ha. No, Keisha. Y'all know I'll cook for you. Let me know if you're in the Atlanta area. Of course, I'll cook for you. Okay, work from home wife wants to know, and I don't know if this is for you or for kids, but she wants to know, are the 100-calorie snack packs good? So when you see those little portioned snack packs, how do you feel about
It
those?
depends what's in them. Most is that a protein bar? Because you always have to look at the ingredients. So that's a kind bar, right? Which I've seen before. So let's do what I usually do. Kind snack bar and see what it says. The
I'm like,
ingredients. Because most protein bars are basically candy bars in disguise.
yeah, yeah, a lot of sugar.
Yes, kind snack bars. That's what it was called, right? Kind snack bars. Okay, so I'm at the kind website. Snack bar. See, I seem to recall it not being good, but I want to double check. So,
So while he's looking that up, what I
mhm.
did, guys, I made a salad, but I'm liking this right now. So I had the cast iron that I just seared the steak in, and I just have a bag of fresh baby spinach. I could toss this in some vinaigrette for a salad, which I was going to do. Or since my cast iron was still hot, I put the spinach in here with a little bit of onion, and the stove is off. You see how it's wilting down? I just tossed a little bit of salt in there. So we're gonna see if we can make a nice little sautéed spinach. And I keep having to add more because, like Kirk said, you can eat this whole bag, which I'm not. I'm taking it to Nana, um, taking it to Mom because I did what you said, Kirk. I found myself. I was trying to hold out to eat after, but I didn't want to get
Mm,
picky. So I actually ate some eggs and a
okay.
little broccoli bread and some goat's cheese earlier, and so I'm still kind of full from that. I will
Yeah.
our steak for sure, but to your point, if you know you're going to be eating later, you can kind of save your calories for that, so you can
Yes.
enjoy a holiday or whatnot. So this is what work from home wife is asking about the kind bars. What do you think about those?
Nuts and just now much specific nuts and sea salt with dark chocolate. I saw that. Let me go back. Nuts and sea salt with dark chocolate. Do, 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 do.
This spinach. It's the taste tester. Oh my goodness, y'all. Guess who's here?
Dark chocolate.
Alex, you got to change your name. My son is at grandma's because those of y'all who are scholars know how Alex is, and that is him. So he says the taste tester is here. So, Alex, how do you like it? And let me know, Alex, is Nana watching with you? And I've got our sauteed spinach. It actually looks really good. I'm going to taste some for Kurt because mom says taste as you go. You don't just serve it to people. So
Okay.
this wilted down really nice. Ooh, ooh. It tastes kind of steaky because what I did,
Okay.
I just put the fresh spinach in here with a little bit of shallot and a little bit of salt. Y'all, I think I'm gonna plate this with the butternut squash. Let me show you guys. And then our steak. Oh, I'm so excited. I think we're good. All right.
So the kind bars aren't too bad. A better option. It doesn't have a ton of protein, 6 grams. So that part is not so hot, right? A better option, easy to get with Quest protein bars. They have 20 grams of protein. And most people do not get enough protein, especially the ladies get nowhere close. And we talked about, you asked earlier about the macros, kind of forgot about that. So you got protein, fat, and carbohydrates. Generally speaking, you want 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Now, if you think to yourself how much you weigh and how much protein you get, I'm pretty sure that those two numbers are very far apart for most people. You need to be getting those numbers closer together. And based on that, you can then figure out how much carbs and fat you should be consuming. But you want to get the protein right. That's the first number to get correct. And then you can get your carbs and your fat right. But when you don't get the protein right, it messes up a lot of things. Protein is satiating. You need it to build muscle. It's the gift that keeps on giving, right? It's hard to get fat just eating a piece of chicken. You can get fat eating a ton of potato chips. You can get fat eating a ton of ice cream. It's hard to get fat eating chicken, right? Or beef or things of that nature. It's very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Difficult. Not impossible, but much more difficult.
All right. Well, I'm excited. I think I want to plate, if nothing else, for picture taking, and then we're wrapping up in about 10 minutes. We've been going for a couple hours now. So if you guys have any last minute questions, there he is, Alex, the substitute taste tester. So Kirk, that is my youngest.
Oh, let me switch back.
Alex.
Hello, Alex.
He usually is in boarding school. He goes to an all boys military school, so he's
Okay.
very happy to be home, and he's very happy to eat the delectable treats. So what I'm making, I'm packing this up because he's at grandma's right now. Oh, thanks, Alex. Okay. So I saw your link that you sent.
Yes.
With that for everybody to know about the.
Yeah, I didn't see how to send it to everybody, but that's Quest protein bars. That's the raspberry. So if you look at their flavors, are incredibly tasty. They're very flavorful. That's this raspberry chocolate, white chocolate raspberry. That's what I go for. They have a bunch of other flavors I see here: oatmeal chocolate chip, double chocolate chunk, lemon cake, blah 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 blah. But each one of these protein bars, 20 grams of protein, which is pretty good. And they have a lot of fiber. The carbs is just like 5 grams. So there's not much carbs. Again, it's very easy to get a ton of carbs when just eating food regularly. That's not a problem for most people. Usually we get too many, or you might get too much, or like I said, too much fat. So Quest protein bars are pretty good. You can get those. It's easiest to get them online. You can get the exact flavor you want. Or for sure, they sell them in Whole Foods as well. Then there's Keon bars, another good one. That you can only get on the website. I think it's getkeon.com. That's a very good bar, let's say. They use, let me try, what was the ingredients?
I am not sideways for whatever reason. I came in sideways, so I am ready to plate. But I want you guys to see it, and I just posted that link, and it has rotated me. So I am going to leave and come right back.
Right.
So whatever questions you guys have, I'm going to see if I just refresh my screen. If I'll come back normal, so you guys can see the plate. But go anywhere, I'm coming right back.
Right. So the Keon bars, let me see what's the ingredients there. Where are the
Okay.
macronutrients?
All right, are you guys ready? All right, so Kirk, while you're researching, class, dinner is. So here's what I have. Our ribeye has been resting. Whoa, I almost lost it. I'm going to plate it. You can see it's nice and juicy, got the nice sear on there. I went ahead, I was gonna do a salad, but I do a lot of salads. So in honor of Kirk, I just took a couple handfuls of the spinach and then I put it in the cast iron with a little bit of shallot, which could be onion, and cooked it in the same steak butter that I just had there. Tasted it, it is excellent. And then our butternut squash. If you like a sweet potato fry, let me see if I can get in here so you guys can see the texture. So you can see right here, it's like nice and potatoey, but it's squash. Okay, and I just did salt, pepper, cinnamon, and nutmeg. So a little warming spice, a little salt and pepper, tossed in some oil and air fried so that the oil dripped down. So let's go ahead and plate. Dun, 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 dun. All right, let's go with our spinach first. Alex, I know you said Nana's asleep, but I know you're watching. All right, y'all, we're coming. Whatever questions you have, go ahead and type them in the chat. So we're gonna start. You know, Nana says I need to have color on my plate. I really should have cooked more spinach than this. Kurt was right. A little, I was gonna say a little goes a long way, but for spinach, and I'm just putting the shallots on top so that we have a little pop of color. They were purple. It's just a little onion flavor. It could be garlic, but this is just nice wilted down. I had turned off the stove and literally just used the residual heat. I didn't add anything else to it but some onion. All right, so we have some wilted spinach here. Oh yes, I do have a Cash App. Thank you. Completely optional. Thank you for being me. Y'all, Maggie the substitute teacher is 3 months old and we have like 850. We're on our way to 999. My mom, Nana, I grew up with the African Martha Stewart, and she said she will subscribe when she wants to be number 1,000. So if you guys can get me to 999, Nana will subscribe. All right, so far we just have our wilted, and this is the organic spinach from Whole Foods. Now, for the roasted butternut squash, again, this is air fried, and I probably should have sprayed a little bit, so I'm just gonna scrape onto the plate. I'm gonna do it here, y'all, because it's just me and my iPad. I don't have a lot of hands, but I'm scraping this down next to the spinach. So I'll show you guys what we have. If you eat potato, this could be potato, but this is basically a way to get the potato experience. So you can see here, it's just roasted butternut squash. I bought this also at Whole Foods, the organic butternut squash, and it was frozen. But you guys can see here, it gives you the nice little char. It gives you that like, I don't know, like if you eat plantains or any of those sweet kind of vegetables. So we have our spinach and we have our butternut squash. Buckle up, buttercup. Here comes the grass-fed ribeye. Nice and juicy. Oh my God. Y'all, wait till you see Kirk's ribeye. So you can see it there. It's nice and seared and juicy. Hopefully you guys can see. I am not eating all of that, but I just had it resting here. It's dripped just a little bit. We're going to put this on the plate. Oh my God. So we have, oh, did I get some spinach on there? All right. I probably should have made some extra spinach. Kirk, you were right. Does it look amazing? So we have our butternut squash. We have our spinach and shallots. And we have a ribeye. Now remember, Kirk said he has his cut in half this way to make a thin ribeye. This is 1 pound, enough for 2 people, but I went ahead and cooked the whole thing. So now, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, y'all, I'm going to take one bite because I already ate and I don't want to overdo it. I'm going to pack this up and take this to Alex and Grandma, but I am going to take some pictures. Kirk, before I cut into it, I want to know, what do you think about your plate?
Wow. Clearly, you're way better cook than me because what I realized, first of all, is clearly don't need to cut it if you know what you're doing. I guess this is the amateur cooking me that I needed cut in half.
Oh, thank you,
Because
thank you, thank you.
because
Yeah.
it looked very juicy. That's what I'm being amazed by because I kept thinking, how is she going to do this? But yeah, it's clearly juicy, which means it's soft and delicious. Wow. I really wish I was there or you were here.
Uh,
Either way, I want the steak.
I know you were here too. When you come to Atlanta, come
Yeah.
to the kitchen and I'll cook for you. So
I say,
again,
Big
it's
Bad Bull asks, how old am I? I'm 48. I'll be 49 next month, actually. So age is
shout
not a
out to
number.
shout
Age
out
is
to
not a number. And it's not like I look like this most of my life either, right? I was fat twice. So, yeah, it's all about back to the whole time thing, People have way more time than they realize because everybody I've met, like I remember the client, super busy guy, very successful. He's like, I don't have the time. And we sat down and in like 10 minutes, he's like, oh, yeah, wow, I do have the time. We have more time than we realize. We really do. Really,
yes.
really, really do. It's
All
kind
right.
of, I tell people, it's like brushing your teeth. You just got to get in that habit where it becomes automatic. You're not thinking about it. Yeah, that looks great.
All right. So Uncle Stu said I need to hold things up longer, so I'm gonna cut it and take a bite. But I just took some pictures. Pictures always
Okay.
go on my community tab. So
Okay.
I always
Oh,
say, dinner is done. So so yes, dinner on me. So we're gonna cut into the steak and we're gonna see how it is. Um, this is the first time that I've had a grass-fed ribeye, or at least the first time that I bought one. It smells very clean. It almost smells just like grass and steak, which is weird. It doesn't smell chemically, plastic, anything like that. All right, so hopefully you guys have seen it. Let's see, is there another question here? Oh, yeah, we're about to wrap up. So let's cut into your dinner and see what it looks like. Any final thoughts, Kirk, before we cut into your steak?
no, I'm just really eager to see the steak cut.
Okay, focus, Maggie. All right, so I'm going to. All right, I'm just cutting the little tip off, and then I'll cut
Mhm.
through the middle so you guys can see.
Yeah.
Got a nice little piece of.
Wow. Yeah,
Mhm.
you're definitely way better than I am. You're a cooking genius. That is clear.
Oh, thank you so much. Let me tell you,
Yeah.
you saw me on Suzette Speaks, and I'm still triggered, even though Alex is home with my mom, and I will take a bite of
Mhm.
this.
Yeah.
Like I said, growing up, coming from, developing countries, cooking,
Mhm.
hosting people, that's all that we have, and,
Yeah.
do with what you have. And so my mom,
Mhm.
she roasts her own grains, she sifts her own grains, she roasts her own nuts. And so
Okay.
my mom told my dad, she said, oh, Maggie, she has this cooking show on YouTube. And my dad said, oh, Maggie, she's not cooking. She's just opening cans and boxes. They don't believe that I'm cooking. So taste the ribeye. I'm going to do the ribeye just for
Yeah.
bite. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm going to cut it through the middle so you guys can see.
Yeah.
Mm, try and cut on the bias. It's really good, really clean.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm, really, really clean. Let me get it.
Another thing, you jog my memory. It doesn't sit in your stomach like the regular steaks do.
Yeah,
You'll find because I can eat a pound of that stuff and I'm good.
yeah, absolutely. Um, so you guys, let me see.
Yeah, that looks great.
So let's do with a little bit of butternut squash. I like to get all the flavors, a little bit
Yeah.
of the spinach.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is proper, but I'm just going to do one bite of everything and let's see how it is. I know this is big. My etiquette teacher will get. Oh my god!
Yeah.
Mm. Oh my god!
Mhm.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Mm. Mm-hmm. 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 The salty, like crustiness of the steak with the nice meat flavor.
Mm-hmm.
The sweetness, I don't even miss the sugar or the sugar substitute on this.
Okay.
The butternut squash just roasted is
Mm-hmm.
toss in a little bit of oil, cinnamon, sugar. You really could just do salt and pepper. And then the smoothness of the spinach, and this spinach was just fresh spinach tossed in there with a little bit of shallot. Okay,
Mm.
one more bite. Yes, absolutely. And I always tell, oh, thank you. Uh-oh, we got a question from Ebony about beef. I know some people are particular. Let me get myself together. Y'all know I get excited. Okay.
Beef to leave your body. So this is kind of implying that the beef is bad, perhaps. So I wouldn't worry about beef leaving your body, quote unquote. I'll tell you a simple story. I remember a friend I had, super healthy dude. This is when I was fat, ironically. Well, no, this is after I'd lost weight the first time. And his father-in-law was vegan and he did everything perfectly right. Then he had a heart attack, right? And not saying because he was vegan, but he said it broke his heart when his doctor, who was also vegan, told him, well, to rebuild yourself, what you should do, so, clear person, is go eat some steak. And he was like, what? Say what? Beef is the most nutrient dense food on the planet. If you're on a desert island, right, and you have little rabbits running around, let's say I'm just making something up, you got your broccoli, you got some wheat. If you try to live on that broccoli, you'll eventually die. You need essential fats. They're called essential fats for a reason. There's no such thing as essential carbohydrates, but you have essential fats and essential amino acids. If you try to eat the wheat because it's unprocessed, you'll also die. But if you eat those little rabbits running around, you will live. You will live until you're rescued. Yeah. Through gluconeogenesis, you can convert the protein that you eat to energy. Again, they're essential fats that your body needs. If you don't get them, you will just not survive. And you have essential amino acids. You also need them too. But there's no such thing as an essential carbohydrate. So beef, all these studies on meat that are bad, they're never organic meat. They're not free range chicken, grass fed beef, blah, 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 blah. If you get Walmart meat, some garbage Walmart meat or Burger King or whatever, then yes, that's problematic, right? But your ancestors ate meat. You got here. They didn't have your healthcare system, and most likely they were in better health than yourself, right? The beef or meat in general is not a problem. It's the kind, Wild caught fish is far better than farm raised fish. Farm raised fish, they're in these tanks, they're ram packed together, they're swimming their own poop, their fish poop. They can't move around. They're just rammed in there, just like anything else. So again, beef is not bad. Beef has a bad rap. Have I tried bison? Yes, bison is awesome. It's kind of like a different flavored ribeye. I've had bison before. Yeah. Bison's pretty good.
Well, that answers it. I will say this grass-fed ribeye cooked
Mhm.
him, pan-seared for the Kirk D. Anderson
Thank
with,
you so much.
you're so welcome. Oh, I wish I could a bite for you. I
Me
had
too. Believe me.
when you come to Atlanta, be sure to stop by. We'll do a part 2 of this in person. Ask him.
Yes.
And I love it when you all say not only that it looks good, but it tastes good.
Yes.
But yes, this was a delight, and I found a new way because I do eat a lot of salads, but just tossing the spinach in with the leftover, butter that you
Mhm.
fancy, and I didn't use all of it. I took, a lot of it out.
Right.
Big bad bull. So this has been a treat for me. I'm gonna pack this up. I'm gonna go get the kiddo and take this to him because I have almost 13 and almost 15. So there is nothing left when the boys are here.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Big Bad Bull asks another good question. He says, "Store is close to mine. I lost like 55 to 60, but then slowly gained it back and then some. Now I now have almost 100 pounds to lose." Yeah, this is what we talked about earlier, the biggest loser. This is unfortunately what usually happens to most of us. You lose, then you gain slowly but surely over the years, you get fatter. You got on a little, then you incrementally keep going up, 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 and away. I can't get the motivation. So one of the things I realized, because I'm also looking at writing a book, is that it's not enough. Like, people rarely change for health reasons. I didn't change for health reasons. Your doctor keeps telling you over and over, you need to do something. Your parents, your family, friends, nothing works. It's rarely health. So that's the first thing, is the health. A deeper reason is usually something aesthetic. You're fed up with how you look, perhaps. Oh, that looks so good. right? And what I realized, you need to find a deeper why, otherwise you'll quit. All right. For me, and this is different people. Like I've heard all kind of stories. I remember there was a guy, he collected, I think, knives, and his wife wasn't going to allow him to buy some expensive knife until he lost like 100 pounds or something to that effect. Anyway, that did it for him. For me, I remember one of my epiphanies was I was at the beach here in Florida when I first moved down here. And I looked around and I said, oh, I'm the only fat guy here. And I go, you know what? Oh, those guys in their 20s. That's why they look that way. Then I saw these guys in their 30s, 40s with kids, and I saw the grandparents. I'm like, damn, literally everybody here is slimmer than me. I'm the only fat guy on the beach.
Hmm.
And then when I hit pre-diabetic levels, that also motivated me as well. But I think you really have to find a deep why that will keep you going. But really and truly, the two reasons, I don't know when you joined the show, but I started with this. The two things that hold most people back and held me back is lack of knowledge and pride. If you don't know what you're doing, but you think you know what you're doing, you don't know what you don't know. Some of the things you think are true are not true. Like perhaps you think, if I eat beef, this is bad for me. It sits in my stomach. Yeah, if you eat regular beef, yes. If you eat grass-fed beef, no, it does not. But it's going to be hard for you to stumble upon this knowledge on the internet, let's say, or it will take you a hell of a long time. It out. Well, in your case, just keeping it real, you lost 55 to 65 or 60, you gained it back. So you should look in the mirror and acknowledge you need professional help. I'm just keeping it real, right? What are the odds of you successfully losing this 100 pounds and keeping it off on your own? Slim to none. It's only something like 20% of people successfully lose the weight and keep it off. So there's an 80% chance you're going to fail, is what I'm saying. Therefore, you should try to get a professional. And don't get some generic trainer at the gym that has you doing some exotic exercises like jumping up and down on boxes, playing with the battle ropes, other mumbo jumbo nonsense, because inevitably, if you look in the other section of the gym where all the hot bodies are, the men and the women, they're not doing what this trainer has you do. They're over there just lifting weights, right? So that would be my best piece of advice when you talk about getting the motivation. And the other part is a lot of people try, but because they don't see the results, they quit. That's what I used to do. So if Big Bad Bull, if you're trying to cut down this tree with a sledgehammer, I spoke about this earlier, but I don't know when you joined the show. You're whacking away. Eventually, you'll get tired and mentally fatigued, and you'll quit. Now, if you get a really good trainer to give you an axe, you get an even better trainer to give you a chainsaw. When you start seeing this tree cutting, you're like, God damn, and you get more motivated. The more fat I lost and the stronger I got, the more fat I lost and the stronger I got because I was crazy motivated, right? Because I was seeing the results. And good trainers do things regular trainers don't do. I had to submit weekly photographs, front shot, side shot, and a shot holding the camera up, showing my back. Regular trainers don't do things like that. But what the photographs do, I could see progress week to week, month to month. These little subtle things like that that they knew to do that I never thought of doing. And that's why they're really, really good. And I do things like that myself with my clients, right? Knowledge is power. And if you don't know, you're bound to fail. You can't, I literally calculated this years ago. I spent about like 4,000 hours researching this stuff. And that's a hell of a lot of time, right? And people have said you can either spend a lot of time to get knowledge. Let's use Maggie as a perfect example, right? Let's say you don't know how to cook, but you really wanted to cook something like what you saw tonight. How long is it going to take you to get to her level? You can get there, but you're not getting there overnight. But let's pretend Maggie said, you know what? If you give me $20, I'll give you this. I will teleport it to your Star Trek technology. You should just pay the $20 and don't think twice. But some people are like, no, you know what? I'm going to Google this. I'm going to spend weeks and months to be able to do it like Maggie. Hey, if you have the desire and the time and effort to do it, then then do that. But most of us do not, which is why you should hire a professional. I did. And the professionals have coaches. If you think about it, Tiger Woods, all these other people, they have coaches. Who are you to not have a coach? So that'd be my final piece of advice to Big Bad Bull and anybody else for that matter.
I absolutely love that. I absolutely
Yeah.
love it. And I'm just cleaning up. I know we had a
Okay.
couple of questions, but this is why I'm here. I mean, like I said, I've been cooking since before child labor laws in 18.
Yeah.
But I do cook every day. I love to watch the cooking shows and then
Hmm.
create it. I know not everybody has that luxury. So, the
Right.
whole thing started with, me making food and then people asking, did you make that? And
Okay, there you go.
and then when lead attorney, when I found lead attorney, and he said, if you're over 35, you have knowledge that people need to know.
Yeah.
I started this YouTube channel, and we share ideas amongst them.
Yeah.
But a cookbook will come, maybe a
Hmm.
ebook, a course, or something. All of that is coming because we can all help each other.
Yes.
Oh yeah, so you got a new subscriber. Let people know. I'll take bonus question as the last question, and then I'm going to. Uh, give you the last words and come right back. But if you could answer Mona's question about should everybody get a trainer and how can people get in touch with you and what services do you offer?
Okay, so yes, I recommend everybody get a trainer. And if you don't have the means to do so, you can watch YouTube channels like myself and don't limit it just to mine. Um, and don't, how to put this? Again, back to Google or YouTube search to find good fitness YouTubers. Obviously, start with me. But the sad fact is that most of them are terrible. It is what it is. They're trying to either sell you something, they promise to lose the fupa in 2 weeks or lose 30 pounds in 30 days. And yeah, you can do craziness to do that, but you're going to get fat again. It is what it is. There's no magic potions, no magic pills, no magic diets. I remember somebody came on my show talking about the cabbage soup diet. I'd never heard of this thing before, but a whole bunch of people in the chat knew. And I Googled it. I'm like, oh, this is garbage. All I did was type cabbage soup diet bad. That's one of the tips I can give you. I like to add bad to the end of anything to see if anything pops up. And immediately a bunch of articles popped up saying why this is garbage, right? um, so get a trainer if you do not have the means to do so. Definitely watch my channel, watch my videos. I don't come with the nonsense. I tell you what you need to hear, not what you might want to hear. Very realistic. I have a full-time job. I don't need to be selling you crap. Whereas some of these people, they do. And actually, some of them make quite a lot of money selling you crap, right? If you want to hire me, I do online personal training. I do not do in-person stuff. All the coaches I had, that's what they did as well. Because the reality is all about the diet. The greatest workout program in the world will not transform you. If you fail in the kitchen, you will fail, period. Let me say that again. If you fail in the kitchen, you will fail, guaranteed. Guaranteed. You cannot outwork out a terrible diet. It's an impossibility. So I provide customized nutritional programs depending on you. For example, my first trainer, when she saw me, I didn't have these shoulders. So she tailored the workout plan to create said shoulders, right? So I look at your pictures. I figure out what you need, what body parts are perhaps you want to improve first. Because if somebody tells you they'll just make everything look fantastic, yeah, that's not necessarily accurate, right? You kind of have to pick, so to speak. Granted, you'll look overall better, but the key thing is really that diet. I cannot emphasize this enough. Whether it's Maggie, her skin getting better, her pre-diabetic status, or mine, it's all about the diet. So I do customized nutritional programs that's targeted, tailored exclusively for you. You don't want to get these generic things. A lot of people come with generic things. They just insert the new name and they just spit out the thing. They could give it to John, give it to Jack, give it to Tariq, give it to Michael. It's the same damn program, right? You don't want that. Everybody's unique. Common sense tells you this, but a lot of these people, they give you a lot of nonsense. So that's what I offer. You can go to my website, which is kirkdaanderson.com, and you can hire me there. Or again, if you don't have the means, just watch the YouTube channel. It's free, 100% free.
I absolutely love that. And you're right. You have said it. And I know we want to take shortcuts, but you have to eat. You have
Yeah.
to start with the diet. So
Yep.
you all heard it. Kirk is available virtually. Um, Wherever you are, please reach out to him. Oh, we've got your website right here. I hope this
Yeah,
was
thanks.
helpful for you all. I had so much fun. I have lots of food left. I ate earlier, so I wanted to taste this, but I've learned some things. I'm going to look up that Ceylon cinnamon. One thing that I will say, in all
Mhm.
honesty, for my scholars, this ribeye, it is excellent, but it is lean. It's not as fatty as a regular ribeye. So
Yes.
require like a little bit more chew, which means you'll eat less of it. But the flavor is excellent on the ribeye. It just is not as marbled as your regular grocery store. So literally, you could eat half of that, and it'll take
Mhm.
time to eat it because it's full of just lean protein. But excellent ribeye, butternut squash, and spinach. Very, very good. So I think we answered all the questions. If we missed them, I'm sure we'll do this again. Kirk, if you're
Yes, definitely.
please come through. I would love
I
to.
will.
I don't know when next time I'll be in Florida, but I will look you up. But we are all on YouTube, Kirk Anderson Fitness. Y'all know I'm Maggie, the substitute teacher. I usually live stream twice a day. This week it might be once a day because I'm moderating over for the lead attorney. So thankful for his leadership. I'm a student of his. His course. Everything is amazing. Y'all, it is just me in my kitchen. You heard Kirk's story. Someone helped him. And so he's, now helping others. And I love what you said about the customized plans.
Yes.
Y'all know most of us women have certain body parts that we like in certain body.
Yes.
But once you get the diet part, under control, start somewhere. That's so good to know that Kirk can help us kind of, get it in a
Yeah.
natural way. All right. Well, I think we are done. Kirk, if you want to hang out in the back, I'm going to go ahead and let you
Sure.
go. And thank you so much for being here. Please like and share and subscribe. Please go over and check out Kirk D. Anderson Fitness, and we'll see you guys on the next live stream. So Instagram, thank you so much. Good night. And Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, thank you so much. Good night.